just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. Now, tonight, 6 p.m, new shirts, new hoodies, new spray jackets, and a rerun of the hats. That's right, the green and gold drop is tonight. Very limited number. I'm wearing the hoodie, I'm wearing the shirts, all extremely high quality material, guys. Limited numbers, and look, if you're driving in your car, you're at the gym right now, and you've been looking for a way to support Bloke, you listen to hours and hours and hours and hours of free content, this is the way to do it. So 6 p.m. tonight, bloke.shop. The jackets are $99.99. The hoodies are $89.99. The t-shirts are $54.99. And the hats are $34.99. So make sure to be there. Get around your country. The Olympics are here. Green and gold drop. Get around your country. I got the great Roo. How you going, brother?
Good, mate. I haven't seen you since Origin. It's been a good week for me. Thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Yeah? What's the now that all the dust is settled? How would the Roos sum up Origin?
I'm just proud of them. I've spoken last week like I was in the team and made 45 tackles. I don't know. It was just incredible to go up to Queensland and do that. Was amazing. So yeah, I've had a great week, mate. It's been sensational.
Hammy, how you been, bros?
I'm coping, starting to cope. You know, it's pretty raw after the game, obviously. But, as we said at the time, full strength, we walk that in and we go again next year. So bring it on.
Matty?
I feel sorry for Hammy. The Queensland went down, the Tigers went down to South, and the Swans got dusted just at the end by Brisbane Lions. So not a good week for Hammy.
How ironic that a Queensland team dusted your Swans. Can't catch a break, mate.
Good to see you too, Matty.
Timmy's not here. He's away for the weekend, but he'll be back ready for the finals runs home. So don't forget, tonight, 6 p.m, the green and gold drop. Get behind your country. As I said, guys, I'm pretty sure we won't be doing another hoodie drop for another 12 months. So if you want to bloke hoodies, it's 6 o'clock tonight, and obviously the spray jackets as well. And the shirts, all extremely high quality material. In regards to sizing, the hoodies are a little bit oversized. Everything else is normal sized. We got international shipping as well. We go all sizes all the way up to 6XL. That is 6 p.m. tonight. The Roo, actually, he wore his spray jacket to the golf the other day.
Mate, I wore my spray jacket yesterday around the course, and I think it's your best ever. I genuinely think it's my favourite garment, would you call it?
I think so.
We've made.
All I know is it's good stuff.
It's good gear. Very
gear.
good.
All right, let's get into it. Face the Music, brought to you by our friends at Sportsbet. It's time to face a bit of the music with Hammy. As always, guys, give us a follow on the feed, the brand new feature where you can copy people's bets. They've got people like Alex Volkanovski on there. They've got the great Hammy. You name it. They're big in sport. Usually they're on the feed. So head to the feed. Give us a follow. Anyway, how are we going, Hammy?
Nobody as well followed as you, though. The king of the feed, Denton Kemp, alongside us today.
That's all thanks to you guys, the bloke community. Thank you.
Unbelievable. Some of the numbers of people following you, some of your Origin bets, astronomical.
Astronomical.
Yep.
And I had Bradman Best to score first, second or third try.
Yep.
And Val Holmes let me down, unfortunately.
Yep. All right, let's do it. Now, interesting to know that Timmy not here. Never seen a bloke get more nervous for Face the Music than Timmy. He's always kind of asking, am I going to be in the picture this week? Do I need to prepare something? He hasn't even shown up today. So, and to be honest with you, he should have, because it actually makes a pretty good rating for Timmy this week.
Okay.
We'll plough through that. All right, so the first game obviously is Origin. We had quite a few submissions for Origin. New South Wales 14 defeat Queensland 4. Obviously, Roo, Timmy and Matty tipped the Blues. You and I had the Maroons, Kempy. Not a great deal of luck with try scorers or Wally Lewis medalists or player of the matches apart from Timmy. So Timmy had Dylan Edwards, man of the match at $9, and he had Angus Crichton, Wally Lewis medalist, which at time of recording was $10.
Wow. So,
if he was here, we would have got around him, but he's not here, so we won't bother.
What an idiot. How could he miss this?
Yeah.
It's his Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Love that.
Very silly.
So pretty good stuff from him there. If you followed Timmy, well done. Then we get into the NRL round. A bit of a grind this game. Doesn't get much more Friday of an Origin period than Raiders versus the Warriors down at GIO Stadium, does it? It was the Milk 20 defeating the Warriors 18. Everyone except me got the 2 points here. You all had the Raiders 1-12. Some dodgy goal kicking probably cost me 2 points. More on that in the review, I'm sure. The Ian Gordon Cup, Souths 42 defeat the Tigers 28. Everyone had Souths head-to-head. Kempy, Roo and Timmy had them to cover the 12.5 as well for 2 points, so well done. Then we get into the Knights 14 defeated by the Broncos 30. Broncos snap a 6-game losing streak. Everyone but Matty had the Broncos head-to-head. Kempy, Timmy and myself had them to cover the 4.5 points for 2 points. Storm, probably the builders, the game of the round. Storm 24 defeat the Chooks 8. Timmy and myself, the only blokes to walk away with the points in this game. We had the Storm. Everybody else had the Chooks. Sunday, Super Sunday, 3 games. We've got the Panthers 28 defeat the Dolphins 26. What a game. Welcome back, Nathan. Everyone had the Panthers head-to-head. Rue, Timmy and myself, we had the Titans with the plus 12.5 points. So we collect 2 points each there. Manly 38 retained the Des Hasler Cup, defeating the Titans 8 points. We all had Manly head-to-head. Kempy, Timmy and Matty also had them covering the 8.5 for 2 points. Then to bring it home, Cowboys 20 defeat the Dogs 18. Den and Rue and Timmy all had the Cowboys 1-12. Myself and Matty missed out. We backed the Dogs. So how did it all settle?
Yeah, I think we all did just quietly.
Pretty good.
Everyone did pretty well. Timmy 16 points, which might be a face in or equal record with that round where I tipped a perfect round on the Shinkansen train between Tokyo and Kyoto. Really found my zen that round.
Yeah.
Then we've got Denon and Rue on 11 points each. And then
Tell you what, after my origin loss, that's a fucking fair round for me.
Bounce back beautifully.
That's a huge bounce
Timmy
back.
beat us by 5 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's outrageous. Well, because he would have got the man of the match,
Lloyd Lewis.
Lloyd Lewis. So that's
He got 3 on you that night for New South Wales too.
Yeah.
Wow.
On fire. So well done, Timmy. And then down the bottom of the ladder, we got myself and Matty on 7 points. But I told one of the great jokes all time last week. It was topical, but at the same time, it was timeless. So I, of course, get a bonus point there, which bumps me up to 8.
Yep.
So Matty is on 7 points this week.
All right, but I'm going to have to. Do you have a joke or not?
I do.
Okay. All right. After this, it's a reset. We're going to find a new punishment.
Yep.
We need to. I tell you, for the listeners, we're going to try and find an impactful punishment. I think.
Yep.
Something that builds towards the end of the year. So I'll have a think about that. But after this, it's reset.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
We'll get in the green room next week and we'll think about a punishment. But here's your joke, man.
All right, without further ado.
How many Queenslanders does it take to screw in a light bulb? It's a trick question. They don't screw in light bulbs. They just stand with a light bulb above their head and wait for the world to revolve around them.
Jeez.
Holy!
Jeez. Blow.
There's so much spite dripping from that. I'm not even sure it makes sense, but look, we'll let it play. So is the joke that they're waiting for the world to revolve so it would screw in?
Yeah, so Queenslanders think the world revolves around them. So it screws in.
Very good,
great.
Matty.
Oh, that's so good.
Not bad.
Let's Face the Music, brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Give them a follow on Instagram, all the social medias, and also give us a follow on the feed. And stay tuned for the Bloke in a Bar multi, which has been a fan favourite. People are loving the Bloke in a Bar multi, so we'll do that again. Me and Hammy will have a chat about what we'll do this week. But let's get into it, shall we? Team of the Week, brought to you. It's Bloke Beer Team of the Week. Grab a case of Bloke Beer, the beer of rugby league. Beer for blokes that turn up for family, mates, and good times. Aussie spirit in a can. At number 1, Turbo. At number 2, Anderson from the Storm. At 3, could have seen this coming from a mile away, Cookie. At 4,
Freddie told us. He warned us.
he warned us. He's almost like he can see the future.
Yep.
He's just a man ahead of his time, really.
Correct.
At 4, Dean Mariner. At 5, Taruva. At 6, Dearden. 7, Cleary. 8, Tarpane. At 9, De Silva. 10, Fisher Harris. 11, Young. 12, Lukey. 13, Kolamatangi. 14, Blore. 15, Howarth. 16, Curran. And 17, Barnett. I tell you, this was it was the hardest team of the week we've ever had. Because guys like Reynolds could have been in it. Jensen could have been there. A few of the Storm players could have also... there were a bunch of players that were this close to making it.
Probably took us 20 minutes longer than usually, I reckon.
Yeah, it did. It took a long time. And we discussed having an origin-style squad of 20, but just didn't make sense.
Didn't make sense.
Yep.
Didn't make sense. We wanted to stick to tradition. So
Yep.
very tough. I'm sure you're sitting there going, oh, what about this? What about this bloke? Trust me, we also... Bostock from the Dolphins was also incredible. So trust me, we went back and forth for ages, but this is the team of the week. Now it's time for the hungriest player, brought to you by Menulog. This player, it is scary to think what this player is going to give his team now coming back, because prior to this performance, I was looking at this team and I was sitting there going, they don't have what it takes to beat the top tier sides when it comes to the crunch. This bloke turns around and gives us a vintage 2021 performance. And now I'm all of a sudden saying these guys are the dark horses of the top 8 if they can all stay fit. It is Tom Trbojevic. Use code TURBO for TU, so Turbo, TURBO, for free delivery this week. Tom Trbojevic, it was genuinely watching 2024 Tommy Turbo. He looked like he was free. He didn't look, he was hampered by any injuries. His involvement was great, popping up everywhere, a constant threat. Some of his ball playing, even situations where like Kinney makes a line break, and Tom Trbojevic, who is like 6'4", whatever it is, just wrangles him down. Like Kinney tries to mix him up with a bit of footwork, and usually in that situation, when you're not dealing with a super athlete, a guy like Kinney, he'd run rings around a big, tall fullback like Tom Trbojevic. But because Tom Trbojevic is such a super athlete, first of all, he chased him down easily. Then also, when Kinney was trying to put footwork on him, Tom Trbojevic kept his feet perfectly and just took him to the ground. Like, you don't see that. It is very rare for a guy of Tom Trbojevic stature to be able to keep, like, I guess, footwork patterns at a high enough level to deal with a guy like Kinney, who is such a smaller player. He's so explosive. He was electric. And I tell you what, Manly Seagulls fans, if he stays fit, I know that we all know this, but it's another thing it actually happening.
Wasn't that tackle was unbelievable. Like the old saying, rugby league, you never show your number. He showed him twice.
Yeah.
And still managed to make... Like, I remember years ago, Jarrell put a very similar move on JT. You know, JT, his self-awareness is through the roof, and he had just JT completely spinning.
And JT's a smaller player too.
Yep. Turbo, for him to make that tackle, I don't think the commentators gave him enough credit for that play. That was huge. 4 p.m, Brookvale Oval, Turbo. It's just not fair.
Yeah. Just a fast track, everything going his way. And it's the range of his game. You're not just talking about a big explosive outside back that's good in contact or can make a bunch of meters. It's the soft hands, it's the work rate, it's the footwork, it's the strength, and incredible. So Tommy Turbo is our hungriest player this week. Use code TURBO for free delivery. As always, guys, a massive thank you to our friends at Menulog. Download the app today. Use Menulog if you're going to get food delivered to your house, because each week you get codes, and every time you use a code, it supports the platform. So when we go back to them and we say, do you want to keep being a partner? They go, oh, you've used this code X amount of times. It looks like it's working. This is a great partnership for us. And then we get to renew it. So every time you use a code, it supports Bloke. And also, Menulog, we can see they got the ads on the tries or no tries at the moment. So they're getting behind footy. So we love that. We love that. Now, before we get started though, so obviously use code TURBO, free delivery. Massive thank you to Menulog for the hungriest player each week. The NRLW, it is back. 2024 season kicks off this Thursday when the back-to-back premiers, Newcastle, host the Roosters. And the Roosters actually got knocked out one game before the grand final. So it's 10 teams. It's a 9-round season. Means that every game is a must-win and every game matters. Every moment matters. What I like about this too is it's almost... not a test, because, look, we're never going backwards in rugby league. There's no way that we're going to... Until we get to 20 teams, I don't think there's any way we're going to reduce the amount of games that are played. But if you ever wanted an example to look at and go, what would a shorter season look like where every single game matters? The NRLW have that. The growth, the trajectory of the women's game is incredible. This is the second season of 10 teams in the competition before the expansion to 12 in 2025. So the Bulldogs and Warriors, they joined 25. At grassroots, we now have 45,000 female participants, up from 24,000 3 years ago. Think about that, guys. That has essentially doubled, or just under doubled, in 3 years. That is 45,000 diehard rugby league fans that have been added to the fans of rugby league. So the NRLW this week, Thursday, it is going to be a spiteful clash, because the Knights and the Roosters, there's a bit of history. There's some former players that are playing for each side. Huge clash.
Yeah, 2 of the premiership favourites there. I think they are 2 of the top 3 at the moment, outside of the Broncos. That one's going to be an absolute cracker, mate. 2 star-studded sides.
I got to, like, it is interesting when I see the Broncos play and they win. I do get that, even though I don't follow it as strongly as I follow the men's game. I do get that sense of, like, so let's say your team is struggling. I remember when the Broncos were going really well in NRLW, but the Broncos were struggling in the men's. You do get that sense. For example, the women's Queensland side won. So when I think of that, I get that swell of pride. Get your tickets today at nrl.com/tickets. Who are you looking at? One person I'm looking forward to watching is Southwell. So didn't get selected in the New South Wales side. There was heaps of controversy around that. And also, is there arguments to be made that if she had got selected, do New South Wales win? I'm not sure. She will be out for a huge game this Thursday.
Tamika Upton's the one for me. Obviously, Dahlia medalist from last year. She is just incredible. And you've actually got my two favourite NRLW players going head-to-head on Thursday night. Her versus Taryn Aitken. I think Taryn Aitken's sort of like the Cam Munster of the NRLW, Kempy. She's able to just pull things out of absolutely nowhere consistently. Two absolute superstars going head-to-head in that game.
Millie Boyle, now known as Millie Elliott, with the Roosters now.
Yep. Won
premierships with the Knights. And let's just say especially when front rowers change clubs, something about the new front rowers that are being brought up want to go at the old front rower, because Elliott, probably been the best front rower, or at least one of the best for 4 or 5 years now in the NRLW. And so you know the Newcastle Knights pack is going to be going after her. Me
and Kat went and did some content the other day with the Sharks women, and it's just it's really old school to see. The girls are arriving from their day jobs, showing up at 4 p.m, getting into training and whatnot. They did their weight session at Shark Park, and then they had to all get in their cars and go down the road to a field down the road to do their field session and whatnot. It's really cool to see, and it's at such a professional level now. I was blown away.
Yeah. So get around it. This Thursday kicks off, and then you've got, 9-round season. A 9-round season. So you can get invested, short, sweet, sharp, and then you get to your finals footy.
And as you said, mate, it's a really good example of urgency. Every single game is going to matter.
Yeah.
You cannot, if you lose two, you find yourself in serious trouble all of a sudden.
Absolutely. And that's this Thursday. And matter of fact, there's no NRL game this Thursday. Standalone.
Margaret says it's going to be a tight one as well. You got the Knights $1.80, the Chooks $2 as well, so it should be a cracker to kick us off.
So get into it. Get your tickets today at nrl.com/tickets. Alrighty, let's get into it, shall we? Round 20 review. The Raiders defeat the Warriors 20-18. Now, a couple of weeks ago, when there was a really tough call against the Warriors, and I said that wasn't the reason the Warriors lost. There was other opportunities to win the game. Although it was an extremely tough call and it wasn't the right call, and we all agree it wasn't the right call, there's other ways to win it. And I say the exact same thing with Harris Tavita. Yes, okay, should have he kicked that conversion? For sure. A, he's not the first kicker, but B, the Warriors actually had other opportunities to win that game. So, first of all, I just want to, if you have been quite negative for Harris Tavita, when situations like this happen where it's so obvious that he didn't intentionally miss it and it was just a mistake and he's already beating himself up enough about it, just try to be gentle on this bloke. There is no harsher critic than the person that makes that mistake. And, if you're blaming just him for the loss, go back and watch that game. Now, granted, let's say the Warriors in the last 10 minutes just scored a bunch of tries and they just crawled their way back into it. But if you go back and watch it, the Warriors actually had plenty of opportunities to win that match. So don't just blame one player. It's a team game, guys, and there's always other things you can look at for the reason why you lost. And that's not to suggest that he shouldn't have kicked it. Like, professional athlete, training all week, I get all that. But it happened. There was also a bunch of other errors that happened, like misreads in defence, like drop balls, that you could point to and say that's where the match was lost. So I just think that please don't be too harsh on Harris Tavita. He will be harsher than anyone. You being harsh is not going to make him... It's not going to change anything. He was devastated. Get around him as a Warriors fans if you can. Everyone makes mistakes. We all make mistakes at work. Some are more costly than others, but he's not the first kicker. Clearly not. You can tell by the way he kicks.
Yeah, but you know what? I was shocked. His goal kicking percentage before that was 79%. It's better than Mitch Moses. It's better than Lomax. It's better than Isako. It's crazy. And I saw a lot of people that messaged me after sort of saying, oh, they should have taken the tee off him on the first kick. fucking please. He's kicking at 79% throughout his
How many
career.
kicks was that? Was it a...
It's like 50 or 60.
Yeah, okay. So it's a
So it's a good number. I was really surprised. When you go and have a look at the numbers, he's kicked a fair few over the years at a pretty high click. So, one of those moments. Couldn't you just tell by the way that he sort of hit the last one, Kemper? You used to be a goal kicker, but the way he sort of stabbed at the ball, you could just tell
Yeah, he was
a
rattled.
lot of nerves going into it.
Absolutely.
As there should be.
Yeah, like it's... So, as I understand, like, it's frustrating as a fan and you want to be like, mate, it's your job to do this or do that. I get it. But it doesn't help anything by being too harsh on the bloke when you can already tell he is absolutely rattled.
Yeah.
And look, so what is it? 5 penalty conceded, 3 ruck infringements in 10 errors. So there is plenty of other areas you can look at and go, we can fix that before just a one-off error that you don't usually see, which was the kicking. So,
I had a look as well. Like throughout the club, you got Johnson, Pompey, and Metcalf, who would all be ahead of him.
Yeah.
So he's the 4th string kicker
yeah, so
at best.
try not to be too harsh on the poor fella. And these things happen, and we just wish his headspace the best, and hopefully he can bounce back and have a big game next week. Okay, in regards to the game, look, the Raiders, they come out and you're going, wow, Fogarty back. This side might be pushing for the top 8. But I don't know kind of what happened. I felt like everything was doing, like Fogarty was working really well and they were, sticking to their systems. And then just for some reason, like maybe 30, 40 minutes in or maybe 50 even, they just went away from what was working with the Raiders. It was very bizarre where there was so much evidence of it working for the Raiders and then just all of a sudden just went completely opposite direction.
At the 15-20 mark, it was Raiders by how many?
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then from that point on, I think they, it was 4 tries to 1 from the 20-minute onwards. And their only try they scored was off a kick, not from him as well. So a wild turnaround there. But isn't this just sort of the Canberra Raiders footy? 4 tries to 3. They'll just hang in there, keep themselves in the fight and find a way to win.
Yep. Because, you've got a try in the 5th minute, the 10th minute, and then that last try is in the 70th minute. Whereas look at the Warriors, the 37th minute, 46th minute, 59th minute, and the 72nd minute. And as I said, I get it. When you score more tries than the opposition and you still lose the match, for sure. Very, very frustrating. But, you even look at this game, like Adam Pompey, he took their first kick.
Yep.
So it's just one of those situations where it's a perfect storm for something to go wrong, and it did go wrong. But we'll talk about the Raiders first. Look, although they went away from what was working, the positive for the Raiders is geez, when Fogarty is back, doesn't it just look like a different footy side?
Well, that's their first win at home since Jamal Fogarty got injured in round 6.
Like at the start of the year, they were the most surprising out of everyone, where we were going, wow. Because they were, for me, I'm pretty sure they were my biggest sliding team. I thought they were going to slide quite a lot. And then, they're going really well. Fogarty gets injured, and then it just pretty much, since then, falls apart. But he just plays such a crucial role, and he's also a testament to, a lot of young players out there. If you don't make your debut when you're 18 years old, like just be patient. As a half, it might take you till you're 23, 24 years old. Gets down to Canberra, and is he a world beater? He's not necessarily a world beater, but geez, he has a lot to offer.
He got injured in round 7. At the end of round 6, the Raiders were sitting 3rd on the ladder.
I know.
They came out flying. And you could tell, I know they sort of went away from it the more the game went on, but in the first 15 minutes, it's probably the best 15 minutes I've seen from the Raiders this year.
At least since Fogarty was injured. At least since, because they just completely dominated.
They were amazing in the start there.
What do you think about the game, mate?
They started well. The Raiders, as you mentioned, Hudson Young, I thought was very impressive. Obviously got those couple of tries in the first couple of minutes, but just, he probably had a bit of a fire under the belly. Like, he was up against the bloke in the Warriors, Mitch Barnett, obviously, who got called into the Origin squad. He had a bit of a point to prove. I was pretty impressed with, especially the way that he started the game. I reckon just really kind of like set the tone early on there. But, they got the job done, grounded out. Probably wasn't the most convincing in the end, but they'll definitely take that.
Obviously, the halfback came back in. He looked really good, mate. I thought Zach Hosking looked unreal too. Only played 50-odd minutes.
Yep.
Thought it was interesting how Ricky Stewart did his interchange, and I think he said in the post-game press conference he actually had to apologise to Danny Levi because it wasn't the plan, but Tom Starling ended up playing the whole game.
He played... I thought Starling had one of his better games in a very long time.
I reckon he's such a good player. He's just never given an opportunity down there.
Sometimes I feel like the fact that he's a smaller number 9 works against him, where it's just it's assumed that he's not going to be able to handle the ruck. And granted, like Ricky sees way more than we do, way more tape than we do. So maybe there is a point, like there is some truth to it. But I thought it was one of his better games.
I mean, like there's been times over the last 2 or 3 years where he can't get into the team for 6 weeks.
Well, he made 55 tackles and only missed 2. And I do think he just added a lot of danger around the ruck, which they lack a bit.
That's against the Warriors pack too.
Big pack. A big pack. But yeah, I thought Hosking was great. And, geez, doesn't it give them, Elliot Whitehead obviously moving on next year. To have a guy like Hosking ready to go. Look, he's similar-ish to Elliot Whitehead, but I actually think, Elliot Whitehead, you could maybe a safer player. But the good thing about Hosking is he seems like the kind of player that can build that safety into his footy. Like as he gets a bit older, he'll get more mature. Because we know Hosking has a really, really high work rate. Suits the Canberra mould as well. And so this is a really important win for the Raiders. Like unbelievably important. Hudson Young, what a response to obviously getting dropped after game 1 in the Origin series. He was outstanding. What
about that footwork that he showed on his first try? Like he was standing pretty much in the in goals as the Canberra Raiders went to play the ball, got himself back, got himself one-on-one with, I think it was Del Walker there. But just the awareness and the urgency in that moment.
Yeah. I can't count how many times he makes big plays for his team.
Yep.
And it's seemingly off nothing. And what's so, I guess, exciting about a Hudson Young type player is that how often does something just happen very quickly out of nothing? Like I feel like when you watch some other back rowers, like a kick out or whatever, you'll see the build up to what's about to happen. It might be a play or whatever. Whereas what happens with Hudson Young is like, he could be relatively quiet for 10 minutes and then just a random ball out of nowhere either hits the deck or it's just a normal pass. Bang, bang, bang. Before you know it, he's made a line break and he's scored.
Yeah. Or he scoops it up or he's kicked for himself or he's just done something like, as you said, when you watch, your William and kick-outs of the world, like there's plays set up around putting him in certain spots. I never feel like Hudson's in that situation.
No, it's more just like broken play and he just makes something happen.
He's one of those guys, if you get an offload, you see the Raiders get the ball to Hudson.
Yeah.
He'll
so
create
good.
something.
So good. What a like from a purely selfish Raiders perspective, the fact that he obviously gets dropped, he's in camp less, he's with the Raiders more, but they've basically got an Origin level back rower that's stuck behind one of the most depth positions for New South Wales. So they're getting the benefit of an Origin level player, but they're also the benefit of him not actually playing Origin at the moment.
From a very selfish club point of view, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's right where you want to be.
Yeah, you don't sometimes you're like how much would clubs love to have an Origin level side? Like for example, if you got a lot of Kiwis in your side that would make Origin, like your Fisher Harrises, Leotas, your Tarpaners, how beneficial is that in your squad during Origin period where you go, I don't have to worry about those people being selected, taken away. And yet, at the same time, they are just as good, if not better, than the players currently playing in Origin. Like Tarpanev, for example, the Raiders for the last few years, Ricky Stewart must be sitting back going, this is the best. This is because he would have played 15 Origin games or whatever, however long. What, 5 years of Origin, I reckon he would have been playing?
Close to, yeah.
And so what do you look at? 5. So, let's just say 12 Origin games already he would have played. And yet because he's Kiwi, he hasn't.
Even Josh Papali'i, because he's retired from rep footy, there was calls for him 2 weeks ago to come out of retirement. So they've got 3 people just in their forward pack.
So really important win for the Raiders. And look, they're sitting 10th. Like, Raiders doing what the Raiders do. And that's just fly under the radar. Everyone underestimates them, thinks they're gone. But at the end of the day, if they keep winning matches, they could be in the 8. Whereas you had said that to me 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'd have said season's over for the Raiders. But they're sitting 10th.
They're incredibly consistent, aren't they? Like, they just doesn't matter how ugly it is, just as long as they find a way.
Yeah.
Just give themselves a chance to be in the game late.
Well, they're sitting 10th, but they have a worse points differential than the Rabbitohs with a minus 91, which just shows you like they just find ways to win.
And they don't have a second halfback in their squad. They've managed to survive the last 10 weeks or so. It's crazy.
Well, like you look at a team like the Eels where they they actually did have a backup 7 that they didn't want to play. And both the teams have like this really good forward pack, at least starting forward pack. And yet it's the Raiders that have managed to just find a way to get those wins and bank them up to the point where they were still within striking distance.
And the Raiders are going to be getting that backup 7 next year.
Yeah.
Joining their club.
Isn't it great too? Like when you look at it now, you've got Jamal Fogarty back, and you were sort of forced into it. But Ethan Strange has all of a sudden just been given this opportunity to have all this extra responsibility in this side, and now he can sort of fall back in and just play his natural running game. But I just think the experience that he would have gained during that 10-week period, sort of being a little bit isolated on his own, I think that'll pay huge dividends for him as well.
Definitely can't hurt. So look, great win for the Raiders. Plenty to build on. And just the confidence they're going to be heading into the rest of the season with Fogarty being back. Yes, because like Fogarty's kicking in the first half, far out. His kicking in the last 12 to 24 months has improved. Like, go back and watch some of the older games compared to the way he kicks now. It's genuinely night and day.
It's one thing when I was down in Canberra a few weeks ago, asked people about when he was going to be back and whatnot. The one thing they said that all he's done the entire time is just kick the football, worked on it a lot.
I can imagine. Like kicking is becoming so important in the modern game, especially with like we're in this weird, vague situation where you can touch the kicker, you can't touch the kicker. Okay, now into the Warriors. Like for the first half at least, it was like, what's going on here? Like these guys are just getting completely rolled. They're better than this. Then when the game looked like it was in the balance, all of a sudden intensity increases. They're running with more intent, and basically get this close. Like they essentially could have won the game if they had their normal first-rate kicker in, but they don't. And now they find themselves in a very tough position where they are sitting 14th. They're on 19 points. They've played 18 games, so let's just say 21 points. They still can make the 8, but it's looking very, very unlikely that they'll make the 8.
Yeah, and obviously, as we said, the goal kicking you can talk about, but mate, even the Raiders' last try, like I can't believe that ball sat up twice in the in goals. And Roger hesitated for just that split second, and it cost them. Like that could have quite easily been a 7-tackle set on that play, and the Warriors march up and win that one quite convincingly.
Yeah.
And you talk about, obviously, we've spoken about a lot throughout this year, mate, that whenever a team loses an outside back in the first half, it's near impossible to win. The Warriors lost two in the first half.
Yeah.
Very tough.
And so it's like one of those weird situations where you could look at that first half and say, boys, you're playing for your season. How are you getting blown off the park? But then you can look at the rest of the game and be like, they showed a lot of fight considering the circumstances they were in. So it's a tough one. I will say, though, that, and I said it last week, their kicking game, I don't know if you guys had an extra eye on it this week, but it is just like night and day. It's just not up to NRL standard at the moment.
Yeah,
the kicking game.
Yeah,
and you can see how much it's hurting them.
Yeah, and I mean when you have a look at those two halves throughout their career, at no point have they ever been the main kicker in whatever side they're in.
Well, like Harris Tavita is their main kicker here, 14 kicks, 448 metres, and like there's no one that would sit here and say he's got, he's known for his kicking. He's known before he came back to the Warriors. To me, he was known for strong ball running and really good defence.
Which is fine,
yeah.
But when you don't have a kicker in the side, it shows up very quickly. Mate, I thought Wade Egan, I think his ball playing has sort of been missing a little bit over the last few weeks, if not months. He started the season incredibly hot, and I thought he was fantastic in this game around the ruck.
Yep. Yeah, he was great. And the amount of work he got through, holy.
58 tackles.
Yeah, 58 tackles, only 2 misses for a smaller body, a try assist, 70 run metres. They're a tough side because they play like 20 to 40 minutes of this really good footy. And you look, if you want to hang your hat on that, you go, because like I guess the argument from a Warriors fan is sitting there going, oh, this is the same old Warriors. Like we've seen this before. But when I watch them play, I don't see the same old Warriors. And maybe I'm getting caught up in the romance of a new coach and everything that happened last year. And I get it. Like when you look at it factually of like where they're currently sitting on the table now, where they were last year, that is the same old Warriors. But when I look at the finer details, I don't know. I do feel like this club is progressing up and not regressing to the same old club they've been for the last 10, 15 years.
Well, I mean, if you want to have a look at this game alone, like of your 5 spine players, only one of them was available, Wade Egan. Missing their first choice fullback, halfback, 5'8", and lock. Like I think Tohu Harris is a huge loss for this side as well that not enough people are talking about.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be like the Panthers losing Isaiah Yeo.
Yep.
Broncos losing Paddy Carrigan. But Tohu Harris just doesn't get... He's been a bit quieter this year. Like last year he was a monster. But he is the heart and soul of the pack, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, tough one. In regards to positives, though, Mitch Barnett, holy shit. Mate.
Backing up as well.
And just, being a key part of the comeback, like when the comeback was on, just the amount of big plays he had. How long is he signed for? Because if he's only signed till 25, mate, lock him up.
Yeah.
2027.
Yeah, 27.
Yep.
Thank God. I cannot believe... Like, I thought he was good last year. I thought we saw the ceiling of Barnett last year. I can't believe that he has gone way past that ceiling this year. Like, he is even better by a substantial margin. Like, I felt like last year he was the unsung hero. He's become so good this year. He's a key... Like, he's a top 3 or 4 player in their side. Like, whereas last year I would have said, he's a guy that's always going to be seen... Like almost a little bit similar to Jensen in that Broncos forward pack where you go back and you look at the stats and you go, oh, geez, didn't he get through a bunch of work? But I think he's clearly transcended that. And he's gone into I'd make the argument in the last 10 rounds, he's probably had more impact than Adam Fanor-Blake.
Oh, in the last 10 rounds, definitely.
And so, that's insane. In Adam Fanor-Blake, most games has been, one of the best. But I'd say Mitch Barnett, probably been their most important player.
I'll tell you what, when you think about next year having Mitch Barnett and Fisher Harris lining up together, they're going to match it with anyone.
Yeah, it's going to be... I think replacing what Adam Fanor-Blake's purely physically what he can do, I think that's going to be very hard to replace. But when it comes to aggression and line speed and all of that, Barnett and bloody Fisher Harris, you can't get much better than that.
I think realistically with AFB, you can only truly replace him with Haas, maybe one or two others.
Yeah.
But man, Fish, I don't think anyone else replicates what he does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, it's the stuff off the field that he's going to be, the amount of young gun forwards that we've seen coming through.
Which is exactly what this team needs right now because they've got this crop of 5 or 6 juniors that are coming through at the moment. They're going to transition over the next few years into first graders. That with Fish around, it could go down as one of the great signings.
Yep. Some concerns. Jackson Ford getting to this part of the season again, and he's just struggling to get through a whole year of NRL and to keep his standards. I thought the move into the middle was a genius move, but still has an error here or there in him, and you can see he was basically a guaranteed starter for a long period of time, and now he's moved to the bench. So I don't know how they juggle it. He's just got to find a way to be able to get through a whole season without his performances dropping too far.
There's just been too many errors, and I'm pretty confident in saying the errors is why he found himself back in the middle there, but with a number of young guys that they've got to choose from and whatnot, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a tough choice there.
Just got to keep concentration the whole game. He just seems to lack. And granted that some of the errors that he makes is because he is the one running the hard line, and that it is hard to catch that ball. But if you just made those errors, then you'd be able to forgive. They'd be like, okay, there's a tough balls to catch. It's all the other little lapses of concentrations that kind of hurts him. So hopefully they can find a way. But yeah, the biggest concern for me is when you look at it factually, factually is probably the wrong word. When you just look at the statistics of top 4 last year, 14th right now, looks like they'll probably finish maybe even in the bottom 4. That is the same old Warriors, unfortunately. I don't like saying that because when I watch them and I see them play and I hear the coaches talk and some of their recruitments have been great, I personally don't believe it, and I'm finding it hard to square away my belief with the reality. So I don't know whether it's my bias to hoping that they've turned a corner that is making me think that they have, because when I do look at the actual facts of the matter, like from top 4 to 14th. That has been a pattern, not necessarily top 4, but they've had years where they go really well and then really poor, really well, really poor. And so that's my concern.
Which makes it even more brutal this year that they've had moments where you've just gone, okay, like that game at Magic Round against Penrith. How on earth they won that?
Yeah.
I'll never know. Like the grit that they showed in that game and in a few other games throughout this year. And then you go back to the start of the season. I think they lost their first 2 or 3 in a row.
But even when they were losing, they were, like that start of the year, they were unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like just the way they were playing. So my opinion is this. I think they have turned a corner as a club. But if you want to bring that evidence to me and say, mate, you're kidding yourself, look at this, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer other than vibe and what I'm seeing, like the little small things that I'm seeing.
They're a hard team to analyse.
Yeah.
Very hard, yeah.
So anyway, and I do think that heading into next year, they need to sort out this kicking situation, and I mean in-game kicking, like ASAP, because they're not going to be a competitive side unless they have decent kicking.
So as it stands right now, SJ hasn't re-signed for next year. No. Bizarre situation.
Yeah, so like if they're planning to go into next year with Tamate Martin, Harris DeVita, or Tamate Martin Metcalf, you'd want to spend the entire off-season with all of them kicking and improving their kicking game.
Because I could be wrong, but I don't think Metcalf either.
No, he's not.
He's a no-to-kicker at all. So
he's a ball runner. So, yeah. So, I get the frustration, especially with the Harris DeVita missing that conversion and missing other conversions. But don't be too harsh on the young fella. Like, these things happen in footy. He'd be his own worst critic. He needs the fans to get around him, not crucify him. Anything else on the Warriors?
No, they've lost 8 games now by 6 points or less. So if 1 or 2 of those go their way, they're probably in the top 8. It just shows you how tight it is this year. And, I don't know, it just hasn't been their year. Just those tight ones that last year they're probably getting away with. Yeah. For whatever reason, hasn't been the case this year.
Alrighty, now on to South defeating the Tigers 42-28. Don't forget, guys, 6 p.m. tonight, that's Monday, the green and gold drop. The Olympics are here, get around your country. South defeat the Tigers 42-28. I watched this game and I felt like the South went into this game, definitely didn't play as well as we've seen in the last 5 games, especially there was like a 20-minute period. I feel like they went into this game kind of going, you know what, we're just going to score more points than you. And that's what they did. 42-28. Some of their defence was nowhere near as good as what we've seen in the last 5 rounds. But at the end of the day, they are a lifetime away from what we saw at the start of the year. And when they gel and when things start rolling and moving their way, geez, they're entertaining to watch.
They're so hard to stop when they're rolling. And yeah, I agree with you, mate. I don't think this was their greatest performance by any means. Obviously conceded a fair whack of points, started fast, and just, isn't it amazing how Cody Walker, he just seems to pop up in the right place. If there's a loose ball, if there's something around Cody Walker, you just know he's going to be there.
That kick from Milne, how he would know that his centre is going to off the cuff grubber it like that, because that line that he ran was purely assuming that he's grubbering it to that point. Yep. It wasn't like, he might kick it high to this, because if he's thinking, he might chip it to this area, he's not banging it like that to get to that point. Like, that's just pure instinct. And
it was as soon as it came off Tane's boot, you could just see the way it was happening. You could already see the line that Cody was running, that it was never going to go any other way.
Mm. Yeah.
He's just a freak how he just puts himself in the right position every single time.
It's actually, he's got some of the best rugby league awareness and smarts that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'd love to sit down with Cody and ask him in that play, blah, blah. Like, I don't know if he'd be able to explain it to you. I think it's just natural for him. He can just see it before others can.
Yeah. I just think it's like hours and hours and hours of just loving rugby league and playing it all the time. Backyard, growing up. Like, he seems like the kid that growing up, he'd play his normal game and then he probably stayed at the field for another 10 hours after it, watching the seniors play and, reserve seniors, the first grade seniors. And he was on the other side of the field playing with his mates, just kicking it to each other. All those little skills you pick up over hours and hours of just... Like, I remember when growing up playing soccer, if you were in the under-10s or whatever, you'd play your under-10s, but you'd be on the other field kicking the ball around for literally 4 hours as all the other games get done. And I just feel like with him, he just has played hours and hours and hours, 10,000 hours more of rugby league. So all these little cues that he's managed to just, put in the brain over years and years of repetition. He just knows.
Isn't it crazy? Like, he debuted when he was, 26, 27?
26, yeah.
He's played 200 first-grade games.
Crazy.
Like, you talk about playing a lot of footy. He probably played 200 reserve-grade games before he got there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's special to watch. 2 tries, 5 runs, 46 metres, 18 tackles, only 1 miss, 178 kick metres.
Obviously on the wrong end of it in this game, but wouldn't hate just watching 2 years of him just at number 7, just leave him there.
Yeah.
Him and Whiten, looks like it's going all right.
I'm just curious on this whole Dodds situation. You don't sign a bloke for a massive wicket to not playing.
Yeah.
So I just don't know what's going on there.
I reckon you might at the moment. I know what you're saying, but I don't know how you couldn't pit Walker as your 7 at the moment.
I think that when you look at it and you go, like right now, I would make that selection, but I know Bennett has said he has had no say in this, but like you're telling me that they signed this guy on a massive wicket and Bennett didn't have...
It had to have some wine around it, surely.
So it would be the worst management ever if the Rabbitohs went and signed this bloke, put him on a 3-year deal, huge wicket, and didn't get Wayne's approval, knowing that Demetrio was on his last legs. Like, it has to. And so, although I'd pick Cody Walker for sure and leave him there. You don't want... If this bloke is on the big wicket that is reported, surely he's not sitting in reserve grade. Like, that's not usually how footy systems work.
You wouldn't think so, no.
What do you reckon, mate? He's a Rabbitohs fan.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. If you take salary cap out of it, now that... Because signing Humphries is another spanner in the works there. So if you take all salary cap out of it, you're just like, all right, Cody at 7, Whiten at 6. Maybe Humphries plays off the bench for a couple of years because he's pretty versatile, and then maybe he gets developed into the 7 when Cody's done. But then you're right, like this Lewis Dodd thing just throws it all out of whack. And if he's on, what 700k or whatever, you're right, he can't just be sitting reserve grade for 3 years.
Maybe you just really want to win the New South Wales Cup next year. Hell of a team.
Yeah.
Well, they won last year.
They won last year, yeah.
Yeah,
Three
who knows?
Have any of us seen much of it? Like, could he be a 14 potentially?
I'm not sure. Well,
if you're just trying to fit him in
apparently
somewhere.
he's got dropped recently. But yeah, Super League fans, let us know in the comment section. Someone did leave a comment the last one, but I've forgotten. It's been a week since can't remember what he said. But let us know. But it's a very strange situation because you'd think that if you're just looking at the amount of money that's been put into this, you would assume that Cody Walker would go back to 6, Dodds would go to 7, Whiten would go back to centres, and Humphries would probably be their 14. Or Humphries maybe their starting 9 and Mamazalis their 14. The problem is that Manly thought Humphries was a 9, but my understanding of the situation is Humphries feels like he's a 7. So is it Humphries and Walker? Yeah, anyway. So look, you know what could be the answer to all this? Is the reports that he's on 700k are all nonsense. And he could be on 400 or 500k, and which isn't actually that bad to have a high quality backup 6 or 7 on 400 or 500k. That's actually not that in today's salary cap. It's basically like if someone said, you can have a high quality 6 or 7 that could eventually become gun on 350k in the last salary cap. Most people would be like, yeah, that's bloody oath, I'll do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, be interesting to see what's going on there. Cookie, I thought he was outstanding. In his 200th game, played 20 minutes at 9, was killing it. And then what do you know? Kenner goes off. Just quietly, if you go to the Rabbitohs social media and you watch a video with Kenner and just go and watch it, what an absolute legend of a bloke. Helping people with special needs in his spare time. Just an incredible watch. So go to social media on Rabbitohs and watch Richie Kenner's video there. But yeah, Cook goes to centre. It was outstanding. He was outstanding at centre. 170 metres or whatever. I think he had 7 or 8 tackle breaks. I think he had a try assist there.
Took the kicking tee.
I was about to say, if he kicked last week, I only needed to kick 1 or 2 more, and if they win that, they're only 1 win out of the 8th all of a sudden.
Could you imagine? And so, yeah, I thought Cookie played extremely well. So 12 runs, 156 metres, 26 post contact, 7 tackle breaks, a line break assist, 2 offloads, 30 tackles. Mate, yeah, and just things were happening around him.
Yeah.
Like, it just, every time the ball got out there, he would kind of like slip out of a tackle and it, almost stumble through the line and he'd offload. I thought Cookie was outstanding his 200th game.
I wonder if it's a bit of a new role we might see for Cookie going forward at the Dragons, playing a bit of a Mr. Fix-It-y style thing towards the back end of his career, because Little's going pretty well at the Dragons.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I wonder whether they start Cookie, they bring Little on, and then Cookie plays like a 13 role.
Yep.
That's what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Little's going great.
He's going awesome. Another guy going all right, Tane Milner. Oh my God, 3 try assists, 20 runs, 156 metres. Still has an error here or there in him, like a silly little offload or whatever. But 3 try assists, bloody hell.
I think with a guy like Tane, if you're getting 1 or 2 errors a game, that's just who Tane is. He's going to be trying things, but mate, I reckon the last 2 months has been the best 2 months of Tane's career.
He's
been playing great footy. Like, they are absolutely decimated with injuries with Ty Munro, Campbell Graham, these sort of guys out, and Tane's done a great job. And yes, he's got errors in him, but I think he's done really well the last few weeks. Like, he's almost got a brain explosion once a fortnight in him. I think he's been great.
Yeah.
He's been consistent. It's everything you can ask from Tane.
Yep, absolutely. I was watching Tallis Duncan really closely because this is the first time he started. And like rips and tears, all that, but he does have a few rough parts around his game. And it's not a matter of like trying or, being soft or whatever. It's just like little lapses of concentrations where like he'll tackle someone and instead of holding on and allowing like his markers to get back or even allowing him to stand up, he'll kind of run with his back to the play of the ball. There'll be a try scored. Little things like that, they are expected in rookies. They're expected. They're really the only parts in his game he just needs to, clean up.
Yeah, and you can see the upside in him though.
Oh, absolutely.
They persevere with him. They're going to have a very good footballer, but I thought it was pretty evident, mate, the Tigers, it was part of their plan.
Yeah, and it's all just like tiny things that you pick up with experience. That it's not an effort thing. It's not a selfish thing at all. Like Tallis Duncan he's all effort. He's all heart. It's just little things where you just stop thinking on the footy field, and boom, other teams can capitalise. But he'll learn. He'll get that out of his game because he had some really decisive runs and he's just a battler. I love it.
What are your thoughts on Pete Mamazelis at the moment? He's obviously going to be the starting 9 I assume he's going to be the starting 9 for the South Sydney Rabbitohs next year.
Yeah, solid. Pretty crafty. He seems around the ruck. It's hard to sell because he's got such a dominant Cody Walker. It could end up being like a match made in heaven. If they're both as crafty as each other and they click really well, they could just terrorise teams. But as we've seen with other hookers that are really crafty around 9, sometimes it like stifles the attack. So yeah, I'm still unsure of like how potent he'll be in first grade, but that's not because he's playing poorly. It's just I need to see a little bit more of him to get a read on what kind of 9 he'll be.
What do you reckon you'll do next year, Matty? Do you reckon you'll go like Havili at 9 or like a Havili at 14 or a Humphreys or?
No, I think it'll be Humphreys.
Humphreys at 14?
Yeah, I think Humphreys will be the 14.
Yeah, I don't think Humphreys would. I think he's leaving to play first grade. Okay. I reckon. What are your thoughts on Mamazelis?
I've always really, really liked him. I think he's had to wait a long time for an opportunity, but I think he's going to do really well for South Sydney. I rate him.
Who else?
Mate, Jai Gray. Tough as nails.
He's so tough. What are you going to say?
Keon.
Oh, the big fella at 13.
Five out of the last 6 team of the weeks. He's got to start. Allegedly doesn't want to play in the middle, but absolutely killing it in the middle.
Mate.
I was just discussing with Rue in the Bean Room. That's the cafe, getting some coffees before the show. About what he does next year, and surely he's just got to double down and stay in the middle. Obviously Murray, you'd imagine, play 13 at the Bunnies, but there's a Blues jersey there waiting for him with, probably Gerbo, you'd imagine probably wouldn't be going around again with the Blues next year.
Imagine him in Haas in the first 20 minutes.
And he's got the ability, if you need to move out to the edge and stuff, just works so well for the rotations, but he's absolutely killing it, playing some great footy and another great game on the weekend.
And if he keeps playing the way he is right now for the rest of this season, I wouldn't rule him out of a Kangaroo jersey. Oh, he's going to play for Tonga, isn't he, of course?
Oh, no, he might play for Australia.
He's playing at a level where you could pick him there, for sure.
Yeah.
Actually,
funnily enough, we caught up with him the other day and we were just talking about Aussie and Tonga, and he was like, no, I'm a proud Australian too. So,
beautiful. Okay. Yeah, well, I definitely think if he's playing that role through the middle, he could definitely grab a bench spot or something.
It'd be good for the Blues, but think about South. Like, how good will their front row rotation be next year when everyone's fit? Totola's back. So you got Totola, David Wiley, Keon. Like, that's...
You can chuck Dry out on an edge if you want to. You can chuck... Tallis Duncan's got another year on his belt on an edge. There's plenty of... Yeah. Anyway, he's been outstanding. Absolutely. To me, going to sound like a bit of a stretch, but when it comes to body shape and the way they run, the late footwork, he's the closest to Adam Fanor-Blake in style of play for me when I watch him play. I think that he could play a similar role in the front row as Adam Fanor-Blake does for the Warriors. And I think that if he keeps playing like this, his next contract will be $1 million minimum $1 million. Because tell me, like we talk about Adam Fanor-Blake each week. Tell me a single other player that we can really look at and say they do the similar thing to Adam Fanor-Blake. Like, really no one.
No one, yeah.
And that's not to suggest that he's the best front row in the game, but what I'm saying is that he offers something that only Adam Fanor-Blake can offer, just like Payne Haas offers something really only he can offer. And I think Keon's probably, as I said, the closest to Adam Fanor-Blake in play style. Late footwork of the line, huge motor for a big fella, really hard to take down. You go low on him, he's going to bump you with his big legs. Good offload. So, yeah, mate, I'd be staying in the middle. But who knows? Like, sometimes you've got to weigh up a happy footy player versus an unhappy footy player in a position that he plays well at. Long term, and it might actually be worse for his career. So who knows? Who knows? Not to suggest he's unhappy at all, but it's just...
And they're only rumours that have been around, but hasn't it been bizarre watching him and Zach Lomax here keep on hearing they don't want to play this position, and they're arguably the best in it?
Well, the thing is with Lomax this is what I feel sorry for Lomax in, is that the narrative that was put out there is that he doesn't want to play wing. When the reality is he just felt that centre is what he would rather play. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's a difference between saying, I've got two positions here, I'd rather play this position, but versus me saying, I don't like playing wing. And I think Lomax, unfortunately, has been, because, the whole Dragons thing happened or whatever, and then the yarn was put out, he doesn't want to play wing, that's why he's leaving. When in reality, I think Lomax is like, no, I don't mind playing wing. I would just rather play centre. But it is, because it's like the Keon situation where the actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
Like, you can have any narrative out there that you want. What do they do when they turn up and play? They fucking rip and tear. Because Lomax right now, jeez, if he had have waited and not signed with the Eels, he could have had anything he wanted.
He's probably locked himself in for next couple of Origin series, though.
Oh, mate. Honestly, he's probably the most underrated player in that blue side over the series.
Mm-hmm. I think Angus Crichton fully deserved the Wally Lewis medal, but, mate, if they would have given it to Lomax, I could have got it.
Mate, he pinged... Okay, so the game is... You're 2-0 down. You get a penalty on the sideline. In Suncorp, he just goes, yep, boom, nails it. You get your score on the other sideline. Boom, nails it. Then also, game one, he gets one opportunity with a kick cross field. Boom, nails it. Game two, one opportunity with kick cross field. Boom,
game three... Most of the short dropouts, he's just up there.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. Like, we could talk about your Edwardses and your Moses and your Crichtons, and rightly so, they were great. For me, Lomax was phenomenal.
And you have a look in game three there too. He obviously had that play where he took Reece Walsh over the sideline, was huge, but I reckon the most underrated one, when Mitch Moses scores his try, the only reason why they're up there is because he gets the penalty on second tackle.
Look, it's the first series where a winger may have outplayed Toto. Like, even though, and that's Toto hasn't been outplayed fucking pretty much ever. Look, I'm not saying Toto didn't play fucking unbelievably. I'm just saying that's how good Lomax played. Okay, on to the Tigers. Look, it's just one of those situations where, well, it's not simple. I don't know what the answer is. But what I look at the way they're playing right now, there's two ways you can look at it. This club has made no progress and they're in the same spot as they have been the last few years. Or there were glimpses of brilliance from some young players that have been at the club for a while now, a few years. They're teenagers still. And I think the De Silva to Galvin try and then De Silva for his second try, if you want to be a glass half full kind of guy, you try and focus on that.
Yeah.
You try and focus on that, and then you go, okay, Taruva arrives next year. Jerome Luai, he's another guy. He's on, 1.2, $1 million now. Like, I wouldn't say that's a bargain by any stretch, but at the same time, 1.2 last year when he got signed for that, I was like, I wouldn't pay 1.2 for Jerome. Now I'm looking at a guy, no, this guy actually might change a club. This guy actually turn your whole club around. That's how highly I rate Jerome Luai. So I am trying to look at the Tigers. Like, the last few years when you guys were on the bottom of the table, there was no teenagers that were local juniors that I was watching going, oh shit, he's pretty good. The positive is, yes, are you still on the bottom of the table? That sucks. But I'm looking at a few young fellas going, geez, they go all right.
And also, just looking at the last 6 weeks, like the Tigers last year when they came last were pretty bad the entire year. If you look at the last 6 weeks in isolation, they've had 2 absolute stinkers. One was against the Sharks, one was against the Roosters. But then the other 4, they had 2 wins, one really good one against the Titans, one really good one against the Raiders, and then 2 games where they scored 28 points against the minor premiers at the moment, Melbourne, and Rabbitohs. So, like, it's not good, but a glass half full, they're definitely improving.
Anyone being honest would say the Tigers look way better than they did last year.
Yeah, there's more to be excited for. You're like, okay, these guys are all in their teens. If we can hang on to them for 3 to 5 years, you know, and what does that look like? And we saw some, you mentioned a couple of the tries there, De Silva to Galvin, De Silva's own one. The one for me was the one right on the stroke of half time where they went from one sideline all the way to the other. Luke Lualili, like a young Taniela Tuaki, just brushing blokes off, and then they went back inside and scored right on the buzzer. That was unbelievable. That made me really excited as well. So I think it's just a stage of the year now where it's just play the kids, 6 weeks to go, stick with them, give them as much experience as they can. There's going to be some tough games in there, some good little, you know, obviously we can't make the 8 now, but some good little challenges. Like this Friday they go to New Zealand, sold out Mount Smart Stadium there against the Warriors. That's going to be, you know, a real good experience getter for them as well. You know, you might laugh about it, but we probably are squaring up for potentially a bit of a spoon bowl in the last game of the year. If they can knock that off out at Campbelltown, you know, take a bit of momentum into next year as well. I think there was a lot to be excited about with a couple of the combinations over the weekend. Yeah, we lost, but there was a few moments there where you're like, all right, sweet. There's a bit to look forward to as well.
This is Lockie Galvin's stats. A try assist, 22 runs, 187 metres, 2 tackle breaks, 6 offloads, 20 tackles and 3 misses. Like, that's exciting.
He's 15 games into his career. I think he's had 27 or something offloads.
Yeah.
I just love the way the kid just refuses to die with the football.
He just goes all day long. And, like, imagine that with Jerome Luai.
Yeah,
you know,
mate, exactly right.
That's a scary, like, if I'm going up against, now granted, there's got other, you know, pieces of the puzzle got to fall into place, but a Luai-Galvin combination, is it, you know, a top 3 combo? No, it's not. But at the same time, it's better than any combo you've had in, like maybe a decade.
So what I sat back last night and like when I watched Galvin play, he's so tough. He just goes at the game, goes at it. And then polarising that with the kid that was sitting on Matty Johns' show last night. I don't know if you guys saw it. Just a reminder of just how young this kid is. And then I go back and think, my God, this is a guy that he's running straight into Angus Crichton a few weeks ago. He's belting him, pushing him in the play the ball. Then the next set he runs straight back at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were asking Appy about what they thought about Origin, and, you know, Dill Edwards, obviously player of the match. What a great selection. And then they asked Appy, who's the fittest player you've ever played with? And he goes, Edwards, and then he goes, actually, hang on, no, Lockie Galvin.
Yeah,
The
wow.
fittest player that I've played with.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. And let's remember, like, Lockie Galvin, although they got dominated by the Roosters, Lockie Galvin took it to the Roosters.
Yep.
You know how much the size of your balls to go against the Roosters? Holy shit. So, as I said, it sucks, Tigers fans, it's frustrating, but there are some silver linings. There are some kind of positives to look forward to. Bolle, I think, is definitely improving each week.
Got to lock him up.
Hopefully they can... is he on the market at the moment?
Yeah, we just haven't extended him.
Yeah, okay.
I reckon
Great footwork.
He's great footwork. He suits the modern era of a 13. If you work a little... It doesn't have to be a crazy ball player, but just a little bit on his ball play. And then, like... You got
a couple of months because he's locked up to the end of 2025.
Yeah, so got a bit of time. But yeah, we've spoken about him in the team of the week, but De Silva, like, you know, if he can get that 14 jersey, so that Appy doesn't have to bloody play 80 minutes each week. First of all, you might extend Appy's career because he doesn't have to play 80 each week. Mm-hmm. Second of all, you got a young guy coming on he's crafty around the ruck.
Really bizarre storyline. Like, he played first grade last year. He started this year in SG Ball. Benji sent him all the way back to SG Ball to play for like the first 3 or 4 rounds.
Must have been trying to send a message.
I think so, because he's always just been leaps ahead of everyone else at his age. So could be a little masterstroke there by Benji. But to go from first grade to SG Ball and, team of the week coming from the team, coming last in a loss, one hell of a knock.
Yeah, absolutely. Like those plays where the try set up and the try scored, like just have the confidence to do that. Like,
It's crafty.
Did we see? I didn't see many other hookers over the weekend do that.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
positives. I'm still not sold on Clemmer and Stefano starting together. I just reckon they're too big. But who knows? Benji clearly sees more. Did Clemmer get injured?
Yeah, he had the one stint, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
24 minutes.
Yeah, but he hasn't been playing huge minutes all year as well. Like
24 minutes and he ran for 46 metres. I don't know, maybe, who knows? There is a chance that they're looking at his contract size. There's always been whispers about, moving players on or whatever. Maybe they're making life a bit uncomfortable for him.
bad game for Alex Troll, missed 1 tackle.
Absolutely devastated, mate. Absolutely devastated. But anyway, there's silver linings.
Must be about the 6th or 7th week in a row we've had a sin bin, I think. Caesar, gone for 2 to 3 weeks now. We've got a bit of a look at Latu Fainu off the bench on the weekend in the number 14, but I'm hoping they just, again, play the kids, get him in there, let him start at number
Just
7.
focus towards next year, I reckon.
Agree, yep.
Just, don't worry about this year.
I'm excited to see those two together.
Yeah. What was the bin again? I can't remember.
Hip drop.
Hip drop on Jai Gray.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Fuck. And he's actually had 2 hip drops now, hasn't he?
Yep. That's his second one.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's been out of the game, out of the NRL for a while. Not that you can hip drop in the Super League, but obviously I think we'd probably police it a bit more. I'd assume anyway. I could be totally wrong. Like to do 2 of them in a year.
Yeah. That is just one thing that I don't know how they sort it out, because there's a lot of dumb sin bins that keep happening at our club more than any other. But that's when the game was still winnable.
Yeah.
They were only up by a try. He's gone. Then they score another one 5 minutes later, and it show's over. And that's happened a lot this year. So that for me feels like something that's pretty fixable, to be honest.
It's his 5th charge this year. He's racked up quite a sheet.
Alrighty, we've got our mate Dwayne Bennett here. Mate, tough loss on the weekend. How are the Dolphins feeling?
Mate, they're still good. I've done the maths. It's definitely doable for us to sort of do something big this year. The boys have shown they've got the heart and still keen to take on any team. We've got some tough matches ahead, but with the fan support and team's determination, I reckon we can make it. Every game from here on out is like a final, and I'm confident the Dolphins will rise to the occasion. Also, we're coming to an end of Cuzzy Wayne's reign as coach. We know Cuzzy Wayne always has a few tricks up his sleeve that will hopefully get the Dolphins into the top 8 and keep them there. This coming weekend is going to be the battle of the Queensland teams against the Titans, which is always epic, but I'm sure the boys can do it.
Alrighty, mate. And what's the question this week?
Mate, the question comes from a bloke named Josh. He's a Roosters supporter. He's asking, if DCE isn't available for selection for Origin 1 next year, who would the halves be?
Holy, if DCE isn't available for selection, game 1 next year, who would the halves be?
Big one.
Holy, that's a tough one. I mean, Sam Walker, he is playing incredible football at the Roosters, but it's a risky selection because he is such a unique style of 7. Does that suit Origin? It's not like you're getting a plug-and-play similar kind of player that's a really structured 7 that has a really long kicking game and all that. And yet, in saying that, maybe it's the circuit breaker Origin needs. You go look back at guys like Alfie Langer, who was incredible in Origin and did some amazing things. Then you've got Did and could he move to 7? Look, I think right now you'd have to go Walker, Munster. Even though at its worst could be a disaster because they're both so rogue, at its best could be unstoppable.
I'm going the other way. I'm going Tommy Dearden.
Okay.
Just because he's proven on that stage. I thought in Origin 3, I haven't seen you guys since, but, mate, even just in defence, I reckon he was worth 12 points the other night.
You don't reckon he's an out-and-out 6, though? Because he'd have to lead the team around as a 7 without playing there.
Yeah, I reckon he could. I reckon he'd be able to handle it. The other one we haven't mentioned is, could you play Ben Hunt there? It's the experienced head to potentially come in at 7 there.
You know what? You'd probably go... Look, when it comes to form and what they've done, Dearden's number one for me. The only worry I have with Dearden is that he doesn't play 7 at club. So would he be able to just plug and play there? But in regards to what he's done in Origin and how good he is, absolutely, like Dearden would be there. Benny Hunt's had an opportunity there quite a while ago. He actually got the first opportunity before DCE, got dropped, got brought back in at 9. Man, that's a tough question. I don't know what the answer is. Who you got, Hammy?
I don't think you drop Dearden after what he did the other day. He's every time he's had a crack at Origin, he's been immense. I wonder whether next year maybe he does move to 7 for the Cowboys as well. Chatty Townsend moving on.
That's a good point.
If he's killing it there, do you just go, righto, we know what you can do. You made the right stuff. You're our 7. And then Munster, hopefully he's back from injury. You put them together.
If he's already playing 7 at club, for sure.
Yep.
Like lock it in. Unless he's not going well at club, obviously.
Yep.
But if he's playing solidly at 7, 100%.
The tough thing is that you'd obviously have them with Cam Munster, who are both left side players as well. Sam Walker maybe is the one that can play sort of on both sides.
And at the end of the day, we have to remember with Sam Walker, like at the moment, the Roosters, I know they had a tough loss against the Storm, but like they're looking like a premiership threat. And that team is built around. The team is built around Sammy Walker. Ooh, it's a tough one. Yeah, look. You know what? I think you've convinced me, actually. I think I probably would go Dearden just because he's played in the Origin arena. It's a huge risk of being Sammy Walker in. But the only concern is the fact that Dearden doesn't play 7 at club. That's my only concern.
There's no one else, is there? I'm just thinking about your Queensland sides. I don't think.
Not really. Like, obviously, Ezra Mann playing 6.
Yeah.
Toby Sexton, friend of the show.
Is he a Queenslander?
Yeah, from Titans, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a Queenslander.
Yeah, well, the great Sexton. I tell you what, his short kicking game is unbelievable at the moment. Mate, Dwayne, weekly Finlander update. Tell us what's going on.
Mate, look, with Origin out of the way for another year, it's now the home stretch to the finals, and it's our last push to get more people signed up to become Finlanders. So, Denon, I've been out there spreading the message about the fantastic Finns and reminding everybody they should be looking for a second team to support. So, footy fans, if your team isn't where they should be at this end of the season, now is the time to jump on another team to get behind the Finns and become a Finlander. Just sign up to be a Finlander. It's easy. You just go to finland.com.au, download your digital passport onto your smartphone. Don't forget, new Finlanders out there, get the iconic, the magnificent budget direct Fins sent to their home address. So it's that easy, mate. It's easy.
I love it. So everyone head to finland.com.au and sign up to be an official Finlander to get your digital Finland passport and, like me, become an official Finlander. Thanks, Dwayne. Appreciate it, mate. Alrighty, the NRLW is back and you can watch every game live and ad break free during play on KO. First game kicks off this Thursday night when the reigning premiers Knights take on the Roosters in the NRL. From now until round 24, Broncos game are exclusive to Fox League, available on KO, so don't miss them this weekend. Take on the Bulldogs. Some other key games, Cowboys versus Sharks, Dragons versus Panthers, exclusive to Fox League and available on KO. Broncos defeat the Knights 30-12. Man, I tell you what, Adam Reynolds, it's all about market value. And he may not be worth $1.2 million to other clubs, but I tell you right now, he might be worth friggin' $1.5 million to the Broncos. And it's not in stats. It's not in anything that you can kind of measure. But they literally look like a totally different side with Adam Reynolds in it. They completely unlocked their attack. I mean, even Payne Haas and Paddy Carrigan had relatively quiet nights. It was a different side. I think that with the Broncos, I know it sounds cliche, but they need to take it week by week. Because I didn't watch that game and go, oh, the Broncos are back by any stretch. But at the same time, I saw almost a shadow of what they can be. But yeah, it all starts and ends with Adam Reynolds at 7.
I don't think I'd have that game in Adam Reynolds' top 20 performances. But when you said team of the week and him potentially being in there, I went, yeah, no, that makes sense. Just because the impact he has on this side. This is a side, they haven't won a game of football since May.
Insane.
It's an absolutely stacked side. You got Origin players all over the place. Wasn't it a great weekend just for the value of halfbacks, showing just how important they are? I know Reece Walsh had quite a few errors, but just unlocked Reece Walsh. Yep.
Just had if you discard the errors, had probably his best game all year, or at least in the top 2 or 3. Whereas weeks before, when he's had other halves, he just hasn't been anywhere near that.
No. And I mean, it's Reece Walsh. He's going to make errors trying things. That's going to happen. But yeah, they just look completely different with Adam Reynolds, mate. Completely. And it's funny with the halfback. Like, I hear people say, oh, your halfback's going to come in. They're not going to make your tackles and make your meters. Like, they just lift the entire team.
Yeah, especially Reynolds. Like, it's not like he's a young 7. Clearly, that playing roster look to him as the leader.
Yeah,
like
they respond.
They respond to him.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like, it's, you know, you can have young 7s that have crazy stat sheets or whatever, and you might drop a little bit when they go, but a guy like Reynolds, like, he's clearly the leader of that team. And when he's not there, they look lost. They start doubting themselves, because his value to the team is seriously almost immeasurable. They were outstanding. What do you think of the Broncos?
Yeah, they were great. I mean, as you mentioned, they haven't had a win since May, but this one just looked like the Broncos. This looks like what the Broncos last year would have done to the Knights. 5 tries. They just kept coming the whole time. I thought Walsh was great after having a pretty quiet Origin game as well. It just goes to show the value of having a guy like Reynolds back in there, giving him some good ball. But they look pretty impressive again, and there's still a couple of wins outside the 8, but they look like a totally different team to the one we've been talking about for the last 6 weeks. And last week we basically almost thought they could have missed completely.
And in typical Broncos fashion, Newcastle Knights had more possession of the ball. 27 minutes compared to the Broncos 26 minutes, 51% compared to the Broncos 49. They had a high completion rate. They had more runs. They had less run meters. They had more post-contact meters. But this is the stat that's actually insane. 11 line breaks to 2. And they had 7 line breaks in the first half to 0 at one stage. And so I'll say the Broncos are fully back when they've got 7 line breaks and they've capitalised from 5 of them.
Yep.
Because they had 7 line breaks and they were only, I think the score was like, I don't think they'd even scored. 7 line breaks, only 2 tries in the first half of the Broncos. And so it must be frustrating as anything to play them, because they're just line break after, like, the amount of opportunities they created in that first half. You could see the Knights just going like, what do we do? Like, all we're doing is scrambling. But against the good teams, A, you're going to have way less line breaks, but B, you must capitalise on those line breaks. So I think it's one game at a time for the Broncos. To suggest that they're back is nonsense, but at the same time, if they play like that, minus a few errors, so if they can get to about an 80% completion rate and they play like that, they'll beat most teams in the competition that aren't named, your Storms, your Roosters, your Penrith, maybe even throwing your Doggies and Cowboys at the moment, because, they look much better.
I think outside of the top 3, they beat most sides the other night. And there was even the play where Reece Walsh went to kick from touch from his own 40. The ball almost went dead.
Yeah, crazy.
Just biting off so much.
Jeez, isn't that just another attacking weapon that he has? It's going to just get better and better. And we forget 21 years old. 21 still? Anyway, 21, 22. Super young.
And you take a guy like him, if you were to put him into that Warriors team, as we spoke about before, playing fullback, he's kicking the ball every single time because he's got that weapon to his game.
Imagine him behind like a Storm or a Penrith pack. Holy shit. Not the pack, system. Because he's behind the pack. It's just the system that Broncos is still trying to work out, I think, that what works for them. In saying that, you know what? He probably just suits that,
Oh, I think he is the system.
He probably would struggle in the Penrith system because they'd be like, mate, don't be throwing those crazy balls everywhere.
It's going to be interesting to see how his career does unfold, though, mate. If you guys just sort of allow him to be that guy forever, if you do try and clamp it down a little bit, but at the same time, do you want to?
Me personally, I want to a little bit. But I've been saying that for years. That might be just my conservative style of play, the way I see. Even though I'm not a conservative, player to any degree, but I guess I'm more conservative with it where they're at now, because I just think that there is a balance. I don't want him not to risk a lot, but when you're coming out of your own end and it's a second tackle, those are the ones I just want held.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not be negative. Let's be positive. So, look, great performance from Reece Walsh. And looked, again, he's still rusty, though, in my opinion. You can still see the little things that were working last year. It's going to take him a little bit of time to gel. And also, you've got to remember, there's been so many injuries. The combinations and timing is always going to be different. I saw one where he dropped off Dean Mariner And I reckon if Mariner had played centre for a bit more reps, he would have expected the ball. But because he's only played 2 or 3 games at centre. But yeah, incredible game from Reece Walsh. And what's exciting about Walsh is like, there really isn't anyone else that does what he does. Like you look across the KP on the other side, and KP, although they're similar-ish players, the opportunities Reece Walsh creates, because he tries anything whenever he wants. Whereas KP, he does play a little bit more conservative. He's not going to throw that crazy ball. And I guess the one criticism of the Knights game was not enough risks were taken.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of just very conservative bombs being put up. And it's almost like two sides of the ends of the spectrum, where I'm saying if the Broncos could like land somewhere like not in the middle, but like let's say 75% between them and where the Knights are. Because I reckon the problem with the Knights at the moment is, geez, they play conservative. Like it is, like I'm all for building pressure, and that conservative play did get them through a very tough period in the season. But at the same time, I do feel like they've got to get better at picking and choosing their moments to just try some things.
It's interesting, like you look at the Broncos and maybe you say they lean too far into moving the football and being willing to make errors, but like I definitely say the Newcastle Knights aren't leaning as far into it.
That's what I mean. I reckon
they've got their superstar who's that guy.
He is that guy, yeah. And surely KP's sitting there going, fuck, just give me a bit of free rein here.
It's interesting though, like I don't see that in KP's body language though. I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing it, but fuck, I'm sitting there watching him going, I'd be so frustrated right now.
Well, I think he's just accepted it. And the reason why I say Hastings, so conservative in the way he plays, then even Kai Pearce-Paul, he never tries anything out of the box. Like the amount of times where I'm like, I expected him to come to the Knights, and I expected us to get to round 20 or round 18 and be like, incredible year, too many errors though. But it's actually the opposite. It's good year, but not enough risk for Kai Pearce-Paul. And that suggests to me that Adam O'Brien must be constantly telling those boys, conservative. Surely.
It must be, yeah. And I think, like you go and watch KPP's highlights from over in the Super League. I think we spoke about it last week, but offloads, one-hand carries, like you're just not seeing it at all at the moment. I think he's so concerned with just making sure he takes that ball going into contact that he's just sort of putting the upside that he's got away.
And what makes this so ironic, the most ironic twist of all, both teams are on the same points.
Yeah.
So you've got a side that is too risky, you've got a side that is really conservative, and they're both, on the same points right now. Ironically, they could learn something from each other. Because, KP walking away from that game, he had... sorry, guys. So he had 17 runs, 168 metres, 46 post-contact, 5 tackle breaks, 2 offloads. But he had 0 line break assists, 0 line breaks, obviously no try assists and no tries. Like, KP in his sleep can walk away from a game with at least one of those. A line break assist, a try assist. And I just think that, I think they're just being too conservative. They're not letting KP do his thing. Especially
when you're going up against the Brisbane Broncos. Like if I've got a left edge like the Newcastle Knights do, and I know they lost Bradman Best, but man, I'd be putting Katoni into as many decision-making positions as I possibly could, and they just never seem to do it.
And when they did, they found joy.
And they had Dylan Lucas out there, not Bradman Best. But I don't think they did it anywhere near enough.
No, because Stagg's decision-making in defence lately has been very not great.
Just on Bradman Best, I'm clearly not a doctor. I did a media and communications degree at Swinburne University, but even I could tell you that he should not have been backing up.
Mate.
From Origin. Like, this is a guy that went into Origin, had to get a scan in Origin camp. They had to get cover into the squad for him. He somehow managed to get through it. Obviously, had that game-winning play, but why would you rush him back then the following game?
And he had to do a fitness test, I'm pretty sure, before the game.
And now look.
Now he's gone for at least probably 3 or 4 weeks. And also, I think it's the 4th time he's had hammy issues this year.
Yeah.
I also could be wrong, but didn't this happen last year after his Origin game too? I thought he came back and got injured as well.
A guy with as much muscle mass as him, as finely tuned as he is, as big as he is.
Who probably would have gabbered for 6 or 7 hours after the game.
Probably.
Wednesday night.
Look, I understand the pressure as a head coach. You've got to win matches. You had this incredible year last year. I agree with you, mate. I cannot for the life of me understand, after how intense that game was, how you would make him back up a couple of days later. Because that's purely a hamstring injury from fatigue. And as you said, he went into camp with an issue. And I get the pressure. Oh, you need to win games, and I get, but in saying that, like Adam O'Brien, he just signed an extension. Like, what was it, early in the year or last year? Like, he's around for at least a couple more years.
Yeah.
I think that's poor player management. And people will say, oh, but the player would have kept. Look, it's not the player. The player is always going to want to play.
Yep.
It is up to the head coach and the coaching staff to make the right decisions for the playing group. That's what they get paid for.
Yep.
And sometimes if those decisions are against what the player wants, that's not what the players get paid for. The players get paid to play footy, not make decisions about the team.
Yeah. When you look at the Panthers, and I know they're obviously sitting, up at the top of the ladder, they could probably afford to rest a few blokes, but they had, 5 or 6 players that, were named in the extended squad, probably would have wanted to play, but they decided to not play.
Well, and funnily enough, they actually made that mistake with Nathan Cleary, was it last year, where he came back and he played after and he did his hammy. And so clearly they've learnt from it as well.
Yep.
I just think the game, like we spoke about it, I think maybe last week, I think it's getting to the point where, like, should Origin players be backing up at all? I don't think they should be. And like I said it before, if that meant the Broncos didn't have their players back up and that means we don't make the 8, then so be it. But I do think that the backing up, it's just too much on the body. But yeah, the Bradman Best situation, look, I can understand if you've got a player that goes into game 3 in Origin, he's in great nick, there's no dramas, finishes the game, no dramas, his body, he's reported back, he feels good, there's no tightness anywhere, then maybe you consider playing him. But when you went into the game with a hammy cloud, come out of it, I'm sure he had tightness. Yeah, I don't understand that decision.
He played game 3 last year, scored his 2 tries. That was on the 12th of July. The Knights then played on the 14th, 2 days later, and they made him play that one, and he got injured with about 5 minutes to go. He wasn't out long term, but it sounds like he won't be out long term from this one either.
But like the problem with hamstrings is once you start doing them, just the likelihood they happen just increases. Anyway, but back to the Broncos. I thought one of Ezra Mann's best games, and like obviously that makes sense because he's got Reynolds being able to do what he needs to do. Dean Mariner, jeez, he is electric. He is absolutely electric. Still some defensive stuff he probably needs to work on at centres, but so does Staggs at this stage. But I tell you what, Dean Mariner in attack, that line break where he just went bang bang straight through. See you later.
Isn't it crazy? The 2 leading try scorers in the competition right now, Carl Pierre and Dean Mariner. We didn't know who they were 2.5 years ago.
Mental. And also, what's interesting is like they are like the old school type outside back of like a bit smaller, even though Mariner's still quite big, but just electric fast, like just so fast and explosive. In regards to other people and how they played, Pete Cora, I think he's injured again, which is getting really concerning for the big fella. Hopefully they can find a way to balance his body because I think it's been quite a few injuries now, like little nigglies.
Yep.
Good to have Ricky back. Jeez, he's good. His kick chase is just phenomenal.
Shout out Corey Jensen, discussed at length in the green room about potentially making the extended squad for the team of the week. 45 tackles, only 2 missed, 162 metres, 64 post contact. He's just like you know what you're getting. Good blue chip option, isn't he?
So important to roster squad. Like Jensen, unsung hero last year for him as well. Mm-hmm. In our toughest games where we've either lost or just nothing's gone our way, Jensen is always one of our best. He's so bloody good. Mm-hmm. But just quickly, so Carrigan played for 54 minutes. Haas played for 59 minutes. Carrigan only had 10 runs, 90 metres. Haas only had 11 runs, 117 metres. So it just shows you they managed to do it without big performances from them. I even look at that and I'm actually quite critical. Like I don't think that Paddy Carrigan and Payne Haas should be playing those minutes after a big game in game 3.
Considering how this game played out, I couldn't believe Willison only played 35 minutes.
Yeah, I just don't get that. Look, I get it. I get it because coaches are under pressure right now. Jobs are on the line and all that. I totally get that. But, the game was sewn up with what? 30 to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you've got guys like Kobe Hetherington, Tyson Smithy who can just put out there and they'll just tackle their way through the game.
And
they
Wilson
played
needs
sub
minutes.
30 minutes. And I think you need, like if something was to happen this year, you're going to need Wilson to play 40, 50.
We need Tapua, Willison, Hetherington. We need these boys to be playing minutes. And Jensen, obviously, the more minutes, the better. He played 73 minutes,
So you're saying you wouldn't have him play at all, or you would have had him play but just less minutes? Like got him off earlier.
In a perfect world, I would want no Origin player backing up 2-3 days later.
Yeah, and I think if you hadn't lost every game since May or whatever, they probably wouldn't have rushed him back.
The season was on the line last time and they rested him.
Yeah.
So I think what the Broncos are saying is like, well, we rested them last time, and so that's given their body the rest they need. But honestly, I'd go as far to say as I would not be too much against. No matter what, game 1, 2 or 3, Origin players aren't allowed to back up for Thursday, Friday, and maybe even Saturday games now. And you just get lucky if your game falls on a Sunday, maybe. But anyway, that's for much smarter than men than me, and women than me to work out what is good for the body.
I think that when you got to, I think it was the 65th minute around that mark, Ezra Mam scored, you led 28-4.
Yeah, get them off. Get them off.
Yeah.
For sure. Very surprised there. So look, building really nicely. Building so far with what we've got, 80 minutes, got all the boys back. They essentially did as well as you could have hoped. Beating a Knights side that wasn't great, but they beat them quite convincingly. Now, onto the Knights. Just concerning, really. Like, they have fallen off a cliff. They had a period of footy where they were tough and grindy. And so what I actually am quite... I admire a lot about the Knights is it hasn't been the best year, but they've still managed to keep themselves within touching distance of the top 8. But it's just the concern I have for them is not actually where they are on the ladder, because they're the same ladder as the Broncos. So both teams have had poor years. I guess what makes the Broncos a more dramatic drop is the fact that they made a grand final, but also the roster they've got is, I think it's better than the Knights on paper. So that's why I can admire about the Knights is they've managed to fight and somehow, some way, even though their form hasn't been great, stay in touch. But my concern is over the last, I think it's like 2 to 3 weeks, they got completely dominated by Manly last week. Yes, they had a bunch of injuries, but then they get to the Broncos, get dominated by Broncos. And I think a few weeks before that, they had a performance where they were just just had nothing in attack. And the worry I have is that I just don't see improvement from them in the back end of the year. What do you reckon with the Knights?
So I think it was the Knights game. The Bulldogs game when they lost 32-2. That was pretty.
So
recent.
can you give me their last month of results, please?
Okay. 14-30 loss to the Broncos, 44-6 loss to Manly, 16-12 win against Canberra, 34-26 win against Para, 26-18 loss to Penrith, 36-28 loss to Storm, 32-2 loss to Dogs. So that's the last 2 months.
Yeah. So it's like the Broncos have been more disastrous and yet managed to bounce back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's tough.
I think this Knights side, like knowing what we know about them over the last 2 years, I think after that drumming last week, I think they would have put a lot into this week. I think they got out there after 15 minutes and just went, fuck, can't handle this side. There's just too much strike and they're too quick.
Yeah.
And obviously losing Bradman Best really hurt as well.
Yeah.
You lose Dylan Lucas, he has to move out there. I thought Tyson Brazil, mate, he absolutely worked his dick off in this game. He was exhausted.
He could not have given more.
He was huge.
He genuinely could not have worked harder for him. I guess when I watch them play though, like, do you think that they've got more in them? Like the glass half full viewing of the Broncos is there's a chance that they've got more in them. The worry I have with the Knights is I don't know if they've got the bounce back in them at this stage.
Yeah, I still reckon KP's got enough in him to be able to turn this around. I don't think they're going to be able to beat the top sides in this competition, but I still reckon that they are going to win a few games on this run home off the back of KP. But
what's their run home?
After this, they got a bye this week. Then they go Penrith, which is a shit fight. But then after that, it's a really good 4 weeks.
Tigers, Sharks, Rabbitohs, Titans, Dolphins.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
So maybe, you know what? Maybe they're just getting to a point where they're fatigued as anything and they're just waiting for that bye. And KP has that bye, comes back, rips.
Yeah. They've got to lean into KP, which I don't think they're doing enough of it.
Absolutely.
We spoke about it before, yeah.
They've got to lean into KP. I think that I understand the idea of like we don't want to be a one-player team, and trying to build, using KP as almost like a decoy at times, and Hastings almost having that right side where he can work with that. But at the same time, I do feel like there is a reality to your side, and the reality is that unless KP is getting his hands on the ball a lot, you're probably not going to do that much damage come finals time. Yeah. But as I said, like I can't knock them too hard because you look at the Broncos and look where they're on the same point.
Yeah.
So like, how can you be too critical of them?
It's one of those competitions this year.
That's so weird. In saying that, we have been super critical of the Broncos lately. So
it is, we speak about it every preseason, and you have a look at last year's NRL ladder. The three teams that really jumped up would be Newcastle, Warriors. We spoke about them in the preseason, but I sort of spoke about Brisbane as if I know they'll be the top 8, but they were the other team that jumped up quite a bit.
Yep.
All three of them are now just fighting to keep their head above water.
It's mental. It is actually mental. I just think that KP needs to get the ball in his hands more, because everything, just all the energy and the vibes, it's all going to be around KP. They've been gutsy without him. I think they won 4 on the trot without him at one stage, which is super gutsy, and you've got to admire that. But I think that if they are to make a push back at the back end of the season, they probably just got to lean all the way into KP footy. Wherever you want it, just give it to him. Because I'm just trying to get the last stats up here. Like 17 runs. Like, unfortunately, they can't afford KP to be only having 17 runs. I mean, you'd be wanting him up around the, 26? 25, 26?
Yep.
Just here. Because he's more of a ball runner than you'd say Reece Walsh, would you?
Yeah, I think so.
I'd say KP's probably a bit more of a ball runner than Reece Walsh because he's a bit of bigger body. Because Reece Walsh, he had 19 runs, but obviously he had the 4 line break assists, 2 line breaks, 5 tackle breaks, 3 errors as well. Anyway, hopefully they can, but to be honest, it's a similar sentiment as the Broncos. Like, doesn't matter how you slice it, you can look for silver linings in all injuries and reasons and excuses. At the end of the day, where they both sit right now, it's been an extremely disappointing year.
Yeah. This bye might arrive at the perfect time for Newcastle.
Yeah.
To brace themselves for the next 5 weeks.
Look, I tell you what, before their massive run last year, we were all sitting here going, they are done. Like, they'll be fighting off the spoon. So they can do it. So
it's a bit like last year as well. They've actually, in their last 5 games, they've got 3 Sunday afternoon games in Newcastle.
Yeah. And so how many rounds are left? Like 7, though?
Yeah, 6.
Yeah,
Yep.
1, 2.
6 they got to buy this week.
6,
They've got 5
yeah.
games left.
Yep.
Yeah, so 5 games. So look.
6 games left and a bye.
And a bye.
Okay.
So 6 games. Look, they did more last year.
And as Matty just said, it's Sunday afternoon. If it's in Newcastle, wherever it is, Sunday afternoon, KP.
Yeah. That's where he loves it. He loves it. Hopefully they can turn it around. Also, don't forget, guys, beer shout-outs. We're now available in all Mr. Liquor and Liquor Stack stores. If you're in store and don't see a bloke on the shelf, just let them know and they'll order it in. Harrigan's in Cameron Park with their footy and a fade on during Thursday night games. $30 will get you a schooner of bloke and a haircut. And the Beer, Food and Footy Festival is back this Saturday, July 27th at Henson Park. Newtown versus Parramatta. We have a stall where we will be selling bloke beer and bloke merch. Come on down and say good day. Unreal day out, getting bigger and bigger each year. Storm defeat the Roosters 24-8. Like, seriously, I'm done downing the Storm.
Oh.
I am done. Like, I had them as premiership threats, but a tier below. And I felt like there was a lot they needed to work on. And I've been talking so much about their defence and leaking points and all this carry on. The Roosters go down there, I'm going, okay, this is where we're going to see what the Storm are really made of. They took a team that's averaging 34 points a game or something along those lines and kept them to 8 points and completely controlled the whole game. The Storm are absolutely the real deal. This was a warning shot to the rest of the premiership and to us to remind us that they are the real deal and you can no longer ignore us. Yes, we're down in Melbourne. Yes, we're out of sight, out of mind, but we are here and we're a serious threat to the premiership. they had multiple outs and they still managed to convincingly beat a Roosters side that has been absolutely red hot for quite a while now. An amazing win from the Storm, and they are the real deal. There's no denying it. And they may have jumped up to on equal footing with the Penrith Panthers in regards to real deal. Now, granted, I want to see the Penrith Panthers with their full complement, Origin players back, but at the same time, the Storm haven't had their full complement for a very long time. So, what an incredible performance by the Storm, and talk about big game club. Like they've gotten to the prelims the last couple of years and really struggled in the big games when it comes to finals footy. But this reminded me of the Storm of old, where they just got to this big game and they played it perfectly. All the little intricacies of knowing how to execute a big game, they nailed it.
Kimmy, the more I watch rugby league, the more I think I learn and know about the game. The more I watch the Melbourne Storm, the less I feel I know. Ryan Pappenhausen, Wishart, Hughes and Harry Grant. They combined for a grand total of 1 try assist, 1 line break assist and 1 line break. And they just dusted the Sydney Roosters 13 plus.
It's actually wild. And on the Roosters side of things, I think it's like the last 20 matches or whatever, they've lost to Penrith or the Storm that they've played.
1 in their last 20 they've won. Crazy.
Which is bizarre because you look at the squad and you say, look, if there's any big game squad, it's freaking this unbelievable roster from the Roosters. Like, I'm genuinely shocked at how dominated the Roosters got. Like, genuinely shocked.
Yep. Josh King, who I thought was tremendous for the Melbourne Storm. I don't think he probably makes the Roosters. Doesn't make their 13. Might make their 17. Sean Blaw, Eli Katoa. They're just... I don't know how they keep doing it. I don't know how they just keep on. And just defensively, mate, like, we've been critical of them over the last few weeks, but just every single time the Roosters created anything, it was like there was 35 Melbourne Storm jumpers on the field. They just show up in numbers time and time again. Mate, he was in your team of the week. Grant Anderson.
He looks like, honestly, he looked like if you would have run 100 last week and then 100 this week, he looked a second faster.
It's wild, mate. Full credit to Grant Anderson. I've watched him play on a number of occasions, and I've just always sort of questioned his spot in that team. But Craig Bellamy just keeps pushing, and then Grant Anderson gets to one of the biggest games of his career so far, and he has an absolute blinder. Like,
against him holding up Dom Young and putting him over the sideline. Like, are you kidding me?
Mate, if Grant Anderson showed up to the Roosters in January for their preseason, I don't think at that point they would have picked him in their top 30.
No, he wouldn't have been picked in their squad.
And he just absolutely carved them up in that game.
And like Dom Young has been terrorising teams, and Grant Anderson, who wasn't even the starting side for the Storm, comes out and kills it. Like, that is an organisation. It's like I can't understand how are they so good for so long. Like, granted, the Penrith Panthers, their dominance and the premiership starts, like, that is, never been done before. But that's with this current generation of roster. It's going to be interesting to see, like, how do they go once Cleary retires or people move on or whatever. The Storm, generation after generation, lose all these players and they just keep, refilling the stock, And also, they're doing it in a state that doesn't even watch rugby league.
He's got good people around him, though, Grant Anderson. I don't know if you saw on his personal socials after the game, his plus ones that he brought in with the Victorian Sheffield Shield side. He had 5 of the boys with him, getting around him in the room. So, not surprising that a little bit of Sheffield Shield mentality in the NRL arena, producing great results.
Sheffield Shield. I knew every single one of those players too.
Ferg O'Neill.
Yep.
Will Sutherland.
Yep.
Who are the other ones? The list goes on.
Robbo. Davey.
He might have been taking the photo.
Keithy.
No, he wasn't there. But the point is, lots to like about Anderson. He did go down with a bit of an injury right on the buzzer.
All good. NRL physio says
he's all good?
Yeah, I think he's all good. Nothing too dramatic. Like, he might miss a week or two, but nothing too dramatic.
Great news.
I was thinking about it when that injury happened, and just because he had such a great game, how important has the NRL physio become to? I can only speak for myself, but my daily life.
He's the GOAT.
He plays a role every single day.
Yeah, he is so good. Like, and who would have thought that an injury update could become so important in sport? And yet, he's almost sometimes more important than the news. Like, not sometimes. A lot of the time, he's more important than the news coming out because injuries are like so crucial to how a squad's going to go. Yeah, but yeah, apparently the scans have been done, and it's nothing like long term, which is great.
It says weeks, not months.
Yeah, which is like it looked like friggin' the whole year.
I annoyed the absolute shit out of him with my Supercoach players.
Oh, really?
I ring him all the time, and I'll ask him a question, and then I'll say, "How's the family?" He goes, "Same as you rang me yesterday, mate." All good.
Another guy, Jack Howarth.
Yep.
What the hell? You know, we've been and at like what? Like I reckon it's been a year and a half now where we've been asking, what is going on with Howarth? And
You were late to the party.
Hey,
I've been doing it for 3 years. It's been insane.
And like we've been sitting here, dickheads, even having the audacity to question the great Bellamy of like, why isn't he playing first grade yet? And us idiots up here, like the obvious answer is clearly Bellamy knows what he's doing. And we keep wondering what's happening. Whatever is happening, the timing at the moment is perfect because Howarth, since coming into first grade and getting more minutes, has been phenomenal. I still reckon he probably ends up as an edge back rower. But look, at the moment, he's doing great at centre, and I tell you, he's probably going to keep that spot. It's going to be very hard for someone to come in and take that spot for him at the moment. He obviously had a try. He had 19 runs, 212 metres, 77 post contact, 6 tackle breaks, a line break, 2 line break assists, 14 tackles, only 1 miss.
I'll tell you what the scariest thing about it is too. Like he looks impressive now. You haven't seen him with Cam Munster yet.
Oh.
We know what he did for Juzzy Olam for so long. Who's obviously a very good player, but playing outside Cam Munster, it's just different gravy.
And so this is who they were missing for this game. That would have been their starting 17 usually. Smith, Coates, Munster, Nelson, Welsh, Garlic. Then, yeah, so they're the boys that they were missing, and also Harry Grant backing up from Origin.
He was tough, Harry Grant.
Mate, tough game from him. Interesting year for Harry because I don't really think he definitely hasn't had his best year, and even the Origin series, I didn't think he was at his best. So he's going to have a point to prove heading into this final series because he's such a competitor, and we know how much he can offer. Like that's the thing. The Storm are sitting on top doing these things with really only one of their key players fully clicking. Granted, my next point I wanted to talk about though is Pappenhausen, and that he may not have all the crazy try assists or all the crazy line breaks or whatever, but the class he brings with his ball playing, since he had that long break and worked on his ball playing. So, if you go back and watch when Pappenhausen first came into grade, he wasn't a ball playing fullback. He was an electric, unbelievably fast, sharp, tough, smaller fullback with incredible footwork. He's like a second 5'8" now.
Yeah, he's obviously worked on it a lot. And you're right, mate. When he first came into first grade, it was almost one of those speed equals power sort of thing. He'd get through a lot of meters and he would just take them on all the time. But now, saying he's a second 5'8", is a good way to put it.
He really the amount of just smooth, crisp ball playing, and every time you need a different point of difference from Hughes, and some of his pass selection. What a journey for Pappenhausen. And also, he hasn't had to just do this whole injury he's had to go through. He's had to go through all of that. Plus, he's got one of the best young outside backs the game has seen in a few years, putting pressure on him, and he has just kept a level head, hasn't complained. I mean, there was even reports getting out that he was getting moved on, 4 or 5 months ago. He's kept a level head, and he's allowed his footy to do the talking, and he's been outstanding, absolutely outstanding.
I thought it was great to see, mate, when Sewer came on the field, just the energy he played with. He's obviously a highlights player, but defensively, he was just going after it. I think he forced a drop out at one point, and then just put himself in the right spot just with pure energy to be there to clean that ball up.
Trapping it with your foot and then just making it work, scoring a try. How many games has it been now where he's come on and immediately, boom.
Yeah, things just happen as soon as he comes on. Yeah. Great little tool to have.
Absolutely amazing.
He was in team of the week, so we've obviously already given him a rap. But, mate, I thought this was Sean Blaw's probably his best game when you consider going up against the Roosters.
Best NRL game. Easy.
Best NRL game, yeah. He was fantastic. And it's, obviously Eli Katoa's having an unbelievable season. It's pretty hard to overshadow him, but I thot he definitely did in this game, Sean Blaw. 3 line breaks.
Mate, he was phenomenal. And, he's going against Victor Radley, Angus Crichton. We're not talking about slouches on the other side. We're talking about some top-tier back rowers.
Yeah.
And once again, a guy that just didn't seem to work at the Tigers, goes down to the Melbourne Storm, probably took a pay cut. Jeez, we're just getting started with Blore too. That's the most exciting part.
And obviously 3 line breaks, he was fantastic in attack, but 29 tackles, he only missed 1. Huge knock against the Chalks.
Yeah, just And like that was the concern for the Storm, is like, do they have the punch on the edges? Does their forward pack have that punch? By God, do they have that punch? Like, in a perfect world, maybe one more big man, but
We keep saying it, but
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, we keep saying it, but they're on top of the table, and Nelson has had his quietest year probably of his career.
Yeah.
So what an incredible performance! Like, I thought Kamikamica was phenomenal.
Mate, how good was that 3 or 4 minute period where Brandon Smith and the entire Melbourne Storm
after him.
just went head to head? It was great.
And like they were like Kamikamica, he's their big dog in that pack. The Roosters hunted him, and he just kept turning up, just kept carting it up. Yeah, what an incredible club. And for me, I don't want to hear myself say they're not a premiership threat. I mean, I never said they weren't a premiership threat, but I always had the caveat, their defence concerns me. Completely gone now. From here on out to the end of the season, for me, they are an out-and-out premiership juggernaut, and they're one of the teams to beat if you want to win this premiership. Now, they may win it, they may not win it, but for me, they absolutely are on the top tier of clubs that can win the comp this year.
Yep. You have to put them there.
Absolutely. And right now, it is really Penrith Storm. When a couple of weeks ago, I was saying, really, it's a Penrith Roosters grand final. Completely flipped the narrative now. The Storm are one of the teams to beat. The Penrith and Storm right now are on the tier of their own. Now, I think the Roosters, we're about to get to the Roosters. The biggest concern for me with the Roosters is that in these big games against these top-tier sides, they just can't seem to get a win, which is very bizarre. But, yeah, what an incredible game from the Melbourne Storm. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Penrith Storm and the Chooks, the only teams in single figures for the premiership market. Penrith $3, Storm $4.20, Chooks $3.33. The Storm $1.50 to win the minor premiership as well.
Yeah,
Two games clear.
Yeah, 2 points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. They still have months to come back.
I was going to say, Wishart, he's looked great and done a great job at 6, getting a good extended run at it. But probably when Munster comes back, you'd assume he goes to 14. Farlongo misses out.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
It's tough. Very tough.
They're flying.
Yeah, amazing stuff. What a performance by the Melbourne Storm. Just so clinical. I just cannot believe they did that. Amazing stuff. So, amazing win. Now onto the Roosters. If this was just like a loss by itself, I'd be like, yeah, this is the Melbourne Storm we're talking about here. They went down to Melbourne. But my concern is this current playing group, against the top-tier sides, they just haven't managed to get it done. And when I say top-tier, I'm talking about, your Penrith and your Storm, because that's the level they're at.
That's
right?
where they're at. Yeah. They're not competing for top 8. They're competing for a premiership this year. Yeah. And in order to win a premiership, you're going to have to beat at least one, probably both of those sides.
And it's not the fact that they just lost by a little bit. They got completely dominated.
And once again, like we've said it a few times, but Melbourne Storm still with a lot of troops missing.
So who are the Roosters missing here? Anyone? Or they're essentially full strength?
They're obviously missing Joey Manu. They're missing Jared Rea-Hargraves.
They're big outs.
Big outs. I think that's it from that side.
So big outs, but when you look at the replacements, now obviously like Satilli in the centres is tough. Like he's not an out-and-out centre. He's a back rower. So you could, if you want to look for excuses, you could go, okay, well, Satilli's not a centre. But at the same time, like Robson has chosen to put him there, and they've got some young fellas that can play there at the moment.
And I mean, realistically, like Jack Howarth's been playing second row last year or so in reserve grade.
True.
Like, still, at least Tilly Tupanil is an experienced out-and-out first grader.
That's a good point. And then when you look at their front row, they've still got Terrell May, Lindsay Collins, and Spencer Leno off the bench.
Like they've got dominant origin forwards coming off the pine.
Yeah.
Like if any of those guys are... If Melbourne signed any of those guys tomorrow, you'd go, okay, that's the big they're missing.
Could you imagine if like Lindsay Collins or Terrell May went to the Storm?
Yeah.
Like he'd be... So, yes, definitely, they're missing people. But, yeah, my biggest concern is not the loss in a vacuum. It's the loss when you look at the last couple of years against the top-tier sides. And just they've just been so dominant and bullied teams so much. I was just so shocked at the fact that they just couldn't with the Storm. They just weren't able to.
I think the other thing that's going to be important when you talk about that stat and those two, top sides, like the Melbourne Storm, they are, I would say they're almost locked in for the minor premiership. If not, they're locked in for a home final. The Penrith Panthers are 2 wins in front of the Roosters as well. So not only are you going to have to beat these sides at some point, you're likely going to have to do it in their backyards.
They don't get another look at either of those teams until the finals as well.
So I reckon they likely play one of them week one. You're either going to Penrith or
You
Melbourne.
probably have to beat to win it. You're probably going to have to beat both of them.
I think they're going to have to beat both of them. Yeah.
I guess the biggest Achilles heel for this game for them is a 63% completion rate. But again, I think that more points to why in these big games is it you have these, I guess, such poor performances. Like what? And I think Chen Robertson said they didn't have the best preparation tonight. So I'd love to know, like, what does that mean? Do you mean did you not have enough training sessions? Was it a short turnaround, or were there injuries? Like, have you got key players carrying injuries, and that's why the preparation wasn't great? Because like they look like a shell of themselves compared to what they. And look, I did love that period where the Cheese went on absolute rampage, trying to swing momentum, which is incredible. I love that stuff. So they were trying to, but yeah, it just looked like the Storm just totally calm, cool under the pressure, got the job done.
And even, as you said, being unprepared there, mate. Like, I mean, they came into that game with Teddy, Keary, Walker, Brandon Smith, all not affected by Origin. All there, like your entire spine.
You got guys like
I'd love
Radley,
to know exactly what that does mean.
Yeah. The Radley sin bin, just a brain explosion from Radley.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, that's going to be a sin bin every day of the week. So that hurt his team quite a bit. I'm trying to think, what was the other sin
Connor
bin?
Watson's very similar.
Tackling, just grabbing him without.
Yeah.
Straight away.
Silly.
Yeah.
So, but again, that suggests to me is that pressure? Is that because it's a big game and that's why they're doing that? Because Connor Watson's just come off a friggin' unbelievable performance in Origin.
Geez, that was a nice little kick that Harry Grant put in on that play. That was just perfect. That one I 100% put down to pressure in that moment.
Yeah. It's hard. The problem is, it's hard to be too critical of the Roosters because they are a side that they've got such a roster, they could turn up one day and just go crazy. But at the same time, you look at the history and you go, well, we've been waiting for that for a while.
Tell you what, this week's going to be an absolute crack at the main game Saturday night, Roosters Manly.
Oh, unbelievable.
Straight from the food footy beer fest straight into that one. Look out.
I thought Keary didn't have his best game. Quite a few errors. I thought Dom Young had one of these games where I think what will happen is that as he develops, these games will become fewer and far between. So at the moment, you might get one of these games that are Dom Young maybe every, 5 to 6 games where you go, geez, like some of the defensive reads and, all that. I think that in a couple of years, you're probably going to get one of these like once a year kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, with all due respect to Dom Young, 18 months ago, you were getting 2 of these a month.
Yeah.
From him.
Yeah.
Like, he has improved out of sight. He's come a long way, Dom Young.
But yeah, I guess you just look at it like Keary 4 errors, Dom Young 2 errors, Tupanua an error, Suali'i 2 errors, Tupo 3 errors. Suali'i, he's a guy that I was expecting a big game from him just because of everything that happened. I thought that he was a bit quiet. But yeah, anything else on the Roosters?
And it's hard to analyse the Melbourne Storm. It's also hard to analyse the teams that go against them. Because you just, I'm sure part of the Roosters would have been sitting there going, this will turn at any minute here.
Yeah.
Like it always does. And the Melbourne Storm, they just don't give you anything.
They really don't. But I do think that it is a bit of a concern that these big games against the top tier sides.
It has to be in the back of your mind. Sure.
Well, it's the facts. The facts of the matter of the last couple of years against the best sides, just haven't been able to get the job done.
In all seriousness, week 1 of finals, who would you rather play, Melbourne or Penrith? Like, I'm seeing more weaknesses in Penrith right now than I'm probably seeing from Melbourne, to be honest with you.
It's a tough one. And also, like, Munster comes back. I need to see them with their origin play. With their full strength side, I want to see Penrith.
But it's amazing it's even a conversation.
Yeah. I would probably rather play Melbourne. I'd probably rather play Melbourne. Just because that Penrith side, 3 premierships in a row.
Yeah, but it's not an automatic. Which is full credit to the Melbourne Storm.
Any good performances from the Roosters, you boys?
As I said, I love those few minutes that Cheese went after them. Outside of that, mate, no, I didn't think anyone was outstanding for them.
Teddy got through his work, which is all right. 24 runs, 223 metres, 51 post contact, 4 tackle breaks. No errors, which was good. But yeah, I would love to know what the preparation, what went wrong in preparation for this game specifically. But they've got to sort that out because until the problem is they don't actually play the Penrith Panthers or the Storm. So heading into the game in finals when they do get there, it will be in the back of their head of like we haven't done this in a while. So
they had 4 backing up from Origin, obviously, and Suoliti back after an extended break. So look, maybe if you just go put this one to the side, they've got 6 weeks now to kind of gel together a little bit more as they lead into the final.
That's what I mean. Like if I look at this just in this season's perspective, I agree. Like I'm with you. I'm going, mate. Backing up from Origin, they have shown that when they click, they fucking dominate sides. Mm-hmm. It's just the bigger picture that I go.
It is an interesting conversation, and we spoke about it during the show. If DCE wasn't available next year, if Sam Walker still hasn't beaten one of those top sides,
another
angle to think about.
True. I personally, though, Roosters for me, they're still a premiership threat. I still think that they have the team to win the comp, but this performance just takes them down a notch for me, and they're just a little bit of a tier below Penrith and Storm right now.
Yep, agree.
Same. All right. Okay, on to Panthers defeating the Dolphins 28-26.
What a game.
What a game of rugby league. Now, I understand that the Panthers had, quite a few Origin players out. I get that. I guess when you look at the Dolphins, they had Flegler out. They had Gilbert out.
Ewan Aitken
out.
I think there's more too. I'm trying to think.
Did you check how many people the Dolphins had out? But so they had 5 Origin players out. The Panthers,
Jeremy Marshall-King,
and the Dolphins had. So they had Aitken, Marshall-King, Flegler, Gilbert, and I'm sure. Let's just say it's 5 versus 4.
Yep.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that a lot of people will point to Penrith having 5 Origin players out, and granted, 5 Origin players out. It's a little bit different to the players that. Not too different, but it is a little bit different. Like, for example, Flegler, he's Origin. Gilbert's Origin. Jeremy Marshall-King's an international. Aitken, obviously an Origin at this stage. So, I get that. But I think a lot of people are going to look at this and go, Panthers are missing a lot of players. But what I'm trying to say is Dolphins were missing a lot of players too. This was an amazing performance from the Dolphins. This took Nathan Cleary at the height of his powers with experience to drop a 47-metre field goal to beat a Dolphin side led by a 20-year-old number 7 that up until that point had outplayed Cleary. This was an incredible performance from the Dolphins, and I think that they deserve a massive rap for it. And on the flip side, 2 things can be true. What an incredibly clutch play by Nathan Cleary. Like, we've just become so used to him nailing this. I don't think people realise how hard it is and how often he does. How many games have we watched this year with players like DC, the top tier players go field goal for field goal and miss, 2 or 3 attempts and then eventually get it. Cleary in his first game back goes 1 chance, 1 shot, 40 metres out, nails it.
Off the back of back-to-back hamstring injuries.
Sorry, I take that back. It was his second shot at field goal. The first one where it was like a quick play of the ball. Second one.
Even just the mindset to go, yep, give me the ball.
And the thing that you kind of forget, it was a 2-point field goal. Yeah. It was so far out. He absolutely nailed it. What a week for him to do it as well, though, because obviously all the chat's been about Origin and how clutch is Moses and all this sort of stuff, but he just kind of comes out and goes, hey, don't forget about me when there's a big moment there. Give me the ball.
His first attempt in Golden Point, he had 1 attempt right at the end of normal time.
Yep.
But I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was like in a weird position. It was
and it went like across the face of the post.
And it went like it faded out. But like to nail that, as I said, when we've watched games where they've gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and he's just gone bang.
It's after 2, kicking 4 from 4.
And this was his 6th game this year. Like, he's only played 6 games.
Yeah, it's crazy. And look, as I said, I think Katoa outplayed him for most of that game. But it's just that experience that Cleary has earned through time that Katoa doesn't have because he's a rookie. That was really different. That and also, Cleary's incredible boot, but that was really different experience in those big moments. But yeah, so we'll speak about the Dolphins. What an amazing performance. Like, I cannot believe that they went down to Penrith, also missing players, and at one point I think they were leading by 14 points or something like that, and it took the Penrith like really taking it to another gear and a few tough calls that went Penrith's way in that last 10 minutes or so, them to get back into it. Like, We're talking about a team in its second year of existence taking it to the Penrith Panthers, 3-time premiership winning Panthers in a row in their home ground, going all the way to Golden Point. It's an amazing performance from the Dolphins.
Incredible. And, mate, Isaiah Cartel, he obviously scored a try, which is fantastic, but the way that he was squaring up the line, the amount of space he creates out the back, and it was one thing that stood out for me and frustrated me when I was watching the Knights against you guys. I just felt like they were going lateral the entire time, and I just felt like the halves didn't square up enough. He never gets it wrong.
Mate, like his opposing half was Nathan Cleary, and that edge couldn't handle Katoa's ball playing for a period.
And I love that, they obviously went into that game to try and get Isaac Tungo isolated in that one, and Katoa just never moved away from the game plan. No. Just got it right every single time.
And like you go back and watch it, the first try, I think Cleary jams in, they end up scoring. So the second try, Cleary slides out. What does he do? He dummies and he scores a try himself. Like, look, he has got a lifetime to go before he gets anywhere near Cleary's level. Like, so we're not trying to, like, resumes, anything. Like, Cleary is on the pathway to be a GOAT. The audacity, the balls to go down to Penrith and not be fazed by the 7 across from you. That's like a rookie half looking up and seeing Jonathan Thurston or Darren Lockyer or Joey Johns and going, I'm going to take the game to you.
If not more, because Isaiah has come through that system. He literally has been looking up to him the entire time. And once again, I think at that age, Nathan Cleary had more highlights to him and more big plays in him. Man, Isaiah just does all the little things 100% spot on right.
It's so impressive, like, to see how calm and collected he was. So, mate, I cannot wait to see Katoa's career. As long as he stays injury-free, relatively speaking, and he keeps his head on, there is no limit to what he can achieve.
Oh, mate, and for me, I've said it a few times, the most exciting thing is for International Rugby League. This is the ball player Tonga's been looking for what feels like 30 years.
Look, the initial of Fafita and Tamalolo playing Tonga, that was a crucial moment for sure. And I'm taking nothing away from that. That changed International Rugby League, but Katoa could be the next step in changing International Rugby League forever if he can deliver these kind of performances for Tonga, because that's the one part of Tonga's game they just unfortunately haven't had.
Yep.
And then you look at Samoa, like what helped them get so far into the World Cup? It was Jerome Luai in the halves. So yeah, Katoa, look, a lot of people, and even the commentators were, I guess, quite harsh on Katoa because he didn't take a field goal off a quick play the ball. Look, I understand that in a few years' time, Katoa will probably take that field goal. But, like, I think it's a bit harsh on the young fella at 20 years old. That wasn't a set up for a field goal. That was a set where I think they'd maybe made a half line break. There was a quick play the ball. He was up flat because there was a quick play the ball. I think you're being a bit harsh on the young fella to expect him at that stage of his career to know to take that drop goal off a quick play the ball in a set that wasn't set up for him.
And I think you could see as soon as he kicked the ball, they flashed to him. You could tell he was like,
just realised
I knew what I should have done there. He won't make that mistake again.
Yeah, but like, honestly, I don't think any half at his age, look, who knows? We'll never know. But many halves his age wouldn't have identified a quick play the ball like that close to go, oh shit, I better go for the field goal. I think it's a bit harsh to be too negative on Katoa on that situation.
Yeah, and I think the commentators were too harsh on him in that moment.
Like, this bloke has a try involvement in like 3 or 4 of the tries down in Penrith, and we're focusing on one split-second decision that was, as I said, it wasn't a set that was set up for him to have a drop goal. It was a very weird kind of half-breaky set. To expect, like, the reason why Cleary has become as good as he is because of experience. Even Nathan Cleary, when he was coming through, had parts of his game that takes time to build. So, yeah, don't be too harsh on Katoa there. We're talking about a 20-year-old halfback that already had done so much in the game, a split-second decision. Like, if he nails that crossfield kick and they score...
I was about to say, imagine if Jermaine Osako jumps over, takes that, and he goes down to Penrith and beats Nathan Cleary in his old club there. Like, it's... Yeah. And I, as you said, mate, Nathan Cleary had a lot of things to work on. You got to remember, Nathan Cleary came into first grade with James Maloney next to him. Like, with all due respect to Cody Nikorima, he's not like an experienced ball player like that. Like, he's been a utility, he's been a 9, he's been a fullback at points. Like, I almost think Isaiah Katoa was doing more for him than what he's doing for...
Well, Maloney had won multiple comps.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, granted, I'm not suggesting that he shouldn't have taken a field goal. Like, he should have.
Yeah.
But in a year's time, I guarantee he nails that field goal. And what is that? That's experience. He can't buy the experience. You have to let these young fellas learn and not to be too harsh on them and understand the situation. So, yeah.
Yeah. On top of having James Maloney, he also had Jamie Soward there for a period of time too, Nate. So he had a very good apprenticeship there.
And he's also at a club called, Penrith Panthers has been around for a long time. We're talking about a bloke going to a new club. It's his second year of existence.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff.
Without his hooker.
Yeah. So amazing stuff. In regards to players and performances, Bostock.
If you bought shares in Bostock 18 months ago, you'd be absolutely laughing now.
The Amazon. He's the Amazon of shit.
Absolutely.
Rugby league.
Yeah, he's just gets through so much work. It was an incredible finish as well. Just nailed that put down, right in the corner. He's just gone from strength to strength this year. I think the hammer as well, coming back from Origin, he was, especially that first half, unbelievable. 9 tackle breaks, a try assist, line break assist, the line break, and of course the 2 tries. I just thought he was very impressive.
I believe Jack Bostock can still win Rookie of the Year this year. I don't think he played enough games last year to rule himself out. So I could be wrong on that. Matt, if you can maybe have a look at that, but I'm pretty confident. I've heard a few times. Yeah, they played 4 games last year. I think the cutoff might be 5.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep.
Galvin suspended, so he's ineligible.
Oh, don't even get me started on that nonsense. If you get suspended, fuck. It should only be foul play.
Yeah.
It should only be out and out foul play. Anyway, they need to change that rule.
Yep.
Yeah, Hamiso was great, but yeah, Bostock for me, geez, isn't he turning into just such a well-rounded outside back? A try assist, 20 runs, 212 metres, 45 post contact, 7 tackle breaks, 3 line breaks, and also no errors. And I tell you what, it's one thing to do that in just a normal game of footy. It's another thing to do that against the best team in the competition, essentially. How often do we see young players that are coming through and they'll kill it against all the bottom 8 sides or whatever? They go down to play the Storm or the Roosters, or Penrith, and they're quiet as anything. And so for Bostock to be able to do that against a top tier side, very, very impressive.
I think he's a really good. He's an inspirational story, Jack Bostock. We never look at him last year and just he didn't quite fit in at first grade. I think he's a great example to young people out there coming through the grades. He's obviously worked on his game, and you can probably touch on it more. But I would say he has done so much work in the gym on his body this off season. He was just getting folded last year, and now he just never loses a contact.
Yeah. He reminds me a lot of Campbell Graham, where too tough for their own good.
Yeah.
He went away and he did the hard stuff, which was build his body up, build his physical strength in contact. He's a great story.
And you know what that comes down to? Good nutrition, as we've seen on his TikTok page. He's very busy in the kitchen.
Is he TikToker?
Yeah, Jack in the kitchen. And he, in fact, did the cooking try celebration the other day for Try July. Well worth a follow. Eating clean, and it's obviously reaping some good rewards.
Keeping him mean.
Keeping him mean.
I think it's Bossy's Cooking.
Bossy's Cooking.
Is that his tag?
Bossy's Cookbook or something.
Does he actually have a cooking thing?
It's good gear.
Oh, give it a follow.
Really good.
Is it just on TikTok or is it Instagram as well?
I've only seen it on
it's on
Instagram.
Insta
It's
too?
definitely on OJ.
So Bossy's cooking.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
Okay, Bossy's cooking. I like that. So he's been outstanding. Watching, I know he didn't have the craziest stats or whatever, but just the amount of times Herbie Farnworth gets in and has his tough carry that just relieves pressure, friggin' unbelievable. Seriously, it's all the time.
Bossy's Cookbook.
Bossy's Cookbook. There you go.
445 followers. Unders.
Get around it. You want to be a part of the early adopters so you can say, I was there at the start.
Yeah.
Hamiso, I thought it was great. 2 tries, a try assist, 192 metres, 55 post contact, 9 tackle breaks. But the most important, 7 tackles, 0 misses. I reckon the couple of misses he had in Origin, only 1 or 2, it really fired him up.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, he looks slick as anything. In regards to forwards, I thought Raystone made some really important plays, especially in the first half. Just some, there was a one-on-one steal where they were under the pump. There was not necessarily a try-saving tackle, but a really good one-on-one tackle. I thought he had some really big plays, Raystone.
Friend of the show.
Absolutely.
Mate, I still always go back to when we met him up there at that. I've watched Raystone for years, just going, this guy is tough as nails, and he was just everything. He was exactly what I expected him to be like.
Yeah.
Probably the most honest footballer in the game.
Yep. Tavita Pangai Jr. Look, we asked him to back it up. He backed it up. 33 minutes, and he had 13 runs for 138 metres.
Just one little thing on him, though, did notice he's still got a couple little moments in his game where I'm sure Wayne would go, "What are you doing, Tavetta?"
Like a silly offload.
Off the kickoff, I think it was. The first play of the game, you went into contact and tried to offload it, and everyone was thank God that was a held call at the same time, but it just went to nowhere. So a few little things like that, but if you put that aside, his last couple of weeks have been pretty good.
Exactly what the doctor ordered. Like what you bought on the can, he is delivering it right now.
I would love to see how Wayne responds to moments like that. Like part of me, like I know I'd be absolute fucking panic stations and yelling and screaming, but I do wonder if Wayne's he just understands what he signed up for, and it is what it is.
Mate, they're really smart interchange. Like a second before the game ended, they got him on over Ray Stone, and just so smart for the roll forward. So yeah, he's been great. He's still, going to have that error or so in him, but I think he's been great. Now on to the Penny Panthers. Yeah, as I said, like in attack, I thought Cleary was solid. The field goal, incredible, like amazing. But I thought defensively, you could really see the rust and him trying to get used to his timing with his outside men. Because there were actually quite a few, I think there's at least 2 tries that kind of came off either a read from him or around his area. Now, granted, it's not all his fault. It's, he's got his wide running forwards and all that. But I did think he was a bit rusty in defence, Cleary.
I agree, and I think part of it also shows the importance of Liam Martin out there too. They need him back on that edge. And I think
Just the
Isaac Tungo
communication.
needs him back too. Yeah.
Oh, Tungo. I don't know. Yeah, he's struggled this year. He's really struggled.
There was just a moment where he had one run that was a fantastic run that I sort of thought, okay, can that maybe be the turning point for him? Because before that, defensively, he was all over the place. I know that people at Penrith are big believers that Nath can get good footy out of him again.
Yeah.
So
Lee is their leader out there. Like,
100%.
I think we forget, because he's relatively youngish. Cleary is their leader.
Yeah.
Isaiah Yeo is a captain, but the team revolves around Cleary. It's their team. So, and it's only natural for him to be rusty. He's been out for quite a while. He's only played 6 games this year. But I mean, even the fact that he came back and played as well as he did off the bat and had that impact, we're talking about a bloke that's only played 6 games. We're in round 20. He's played 6 games and he comes back and wins the match for him. It's fucking unbelievable.
And I think of those 6 games, I think 2 of them were injury affected as well. So wild.
It's just crazy.
Paul Alamotti, mate, got injured just on half-time, which is disappointing. He's had a really good season for them. But I'll tell you what, it's going to give Casey McLean an opportunity, I think. This game, he obviously started at left centre, which was interesting to move Alamotti to the wing and play Casey at left centre. I think he'll be the future left centre for them. 15 runs, 150 metres, 49 post-contact, 6 tackle breaks. The big thing for me, 16 tackles, 0 missed. A couple of big defensive efforts from Casey McLean.
Yeah, because when he came in, I was a bit like, is he physically ready? Because he is quite slim, but he looks it.
He's bigger in person.
Yeah.
He's much bigger in person.
I'm excited for him now. When you look at his frame and the way he moves, it's going to be in the 12 to 24 months where you're going to go, holy shit, this kid is unbelievable.
Yeah, I reckon it might come a little bit earlier than that. We'll see, but I reckon when you look at what they've done with your Matt Burns, your Stephen Crichtons, these centres that just come through and get better and better and better, I think Casey's going to be the next one.
Okay. Taruva, back to his best. Been a bit quiet, Taruva, especially even there was a period there where he would just have carry after carry after carry. Was a little bit quiet, but I thought he was back to his best on the weekend.
Well, he got dropped a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, when he did get dropped, Dane Laurie got injured in that game, so that sort of brought him back in. But I think that was a little wake-up call.
Which game was that?
Which game Dane Laurie got injured in? He was dropped to 18th man to River.
It's not the game where he rested because he had some stuff going on against the Cowboys, was it? Because there was one time
negotiation.
Yeah, there was one time where he wasn't dropped. He had needed some time.
I'm pretty sure he was dropped to 18th man within the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, it's 2 to 3 weeks then, yeah, for sure. Then it's dropping.
See if I can find it for you. But yeah.
Dane Laurie, just on him, unreal game.
Yeah.
You mentioned a minute ago, we're talking about the Knights, and I think KP had about 15 touches. You want him to get sort of the 26 thereabouts kind of touches to have that impact on a lot of Sunday Arvo games coming up in Newcastle. Dane Laurie had 29 runs in this game, popped up everywhere, rewarded with a good try at the end, but obviously he's not going to be there for long because Dylan Edwards will be back in, but that's the style of game that you're probably looking at from KP.
Round 18 v Brisbane. He was 18th man. He got dropped to 18th man, and Dane Laurie came in on the wing.
Yeah, a bit of a bounce back from the big fella. He was outstanding. 220 metres, 42 post contact, 8 tackle breaks, 3 line breaks, 6 tackles and 0 misses. Good pickup for exactly what the Tigers need.
Yeah.
Like, far out, you just need an outside back with a bit of experience, even though he's still relatively young.
Yep.
Yeah, Dane Laurie's been great. Really good pickup. But I got to talk about Leota and Fisher Harris. Like, their ability to turn the tempo up in the game. And, like, all you have to do is go back to that grand final where, yes, the Broncos completed quite a lot, and that's what kind of brought them back into it. But at the same time, the tides turned when Leota and Fisher Harris came back on the field and just turned the tempo up so much that all the work the Broncos had done in that first 20 minutes, it just all caught back up with them. And, this similar-ish in this game where they come back for their second stint and they just go absolutely crazy.
Their second stint is off its head.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah. It's they were, you look at Fisher Harris, 19 runs, 189 metres, 57 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, 43 tackles, only 2 misses. You look at Leota, 33 tackles, 123 metres, but the key was the try.
Yeah.
That was such an important try.
When he gets into open space or, with about 15 metres to play with, there can't be too many scarier things coming straight at you in the NRL. I reckon he's one of the great, underrated players as well. I know he's amazing, but people will always just defer to Fisher Harris, but unreal. That try that he scored with Mark Nichols hanging off him and, palming another
Great footwork.
The footwork close to the line is just remarkable.
I can't wait to see what we're all saying about him in a year's time when he's the main dude. Once Fisher's gone and it's his forward pack. Man, I'd love to get a microphone on these two in that 5 minutes before they both come back on. Just hear what the chat is between them.
Penrith Panthers, the negative stuff, I did feel like uncharacteristically they were being a bit impatient at periods in the game. There are a few decisions that they made. I think there's some short drop-offs or something like that. There was a few decisions that they made where I was like, that's very un-Panthers-like, very un-Panthers-like. So I think that's probably more to do with the fact that I'm missing some key players. But I guess just something to note that it was, there were a few decisions they made that were just away from the system that we've seen built over the last few years. But yeah, great win. Incredible win for the Panthers, just what they needed. And I thought, rather than it being a really poor performance from the Panthers, even though it wasn't their best performance, I just think the Dolphins were really good. They really do. Alrighty. Don't forget, it's UFC 304 this weekend. Edwards versus Muhammad rematch for the welterweight title belt. Order now with main event on KO Sports for great family value. Get on board KO today. Okay, Manly defeat the Titans 38-8. Woo. Open the game and you're going, wow, this is going to be a Desi special here. This is a Desi special. And then Manly just go, no, it's not going to be. Click into gear. We spoke about it earlier in the Team of the Week, so if you want to hear more about Tom Trbojevic, you can. But this version of the Manly Seagulls, with everything clicking and playing exactly the way we know they can, this is a very scary prospect. And right now, in the top 8, they could be the dark horse that, although I don't have them as a premiership threat right now, they are the one team I look at and I could see in 4 weeks going, who's going to stop this side? With Tom Trbojevic firing on all cylinders, playing the way he just played, who's going to stop this side? Because they were phenomenal. That is 2 wins on the trot where they've just decimated sides.
When they're humming, they're the team you just don't want to play. There's just too much risk in it. That if they get on the front foot, it's just over. And, mate, the Titans absolutely dominated them for the first 15 minutes. Yeah. They were just all over them. And as you said, it felt like it was going to be a Desi Hasler special. And then, mate, once Manly just started to roll, they were just unstoppable.
And what's really special for them is that they've got guys that fill the gaps, like Tommy Talau, career best form at the moment, playing outstanding. Whereas, if you looked at those last few years, they had outside backs that were almost battlers that could get through their work, make their tackles, but they're not going to really add that much to the attack. Whereas you look at it now, Tommy Talau, easily the best form of his career. Ruben Garrick, definitely warming to that centre position. I felt like there was a few weeks where I was defensively, I'm just not too sure. But he's getting better and better each week. And then you got Hopewadi, who's going to be out for 3 or 4 weeks with a fractured eye socket. But when he gets back around finals time, he's another guy that can come in and kill it. They've got Kohler to come back. this is a scary team to play if they can get it right.
Something worth noting, we talk about a lot throughout this year, teams that lose an outside back early. They lost an outside back in the 35th minute. They went 26-0 from then on.
So good.
Like, how many times have we sat here and said they lost this guy and they fell apart at that point because someone had to go and defend somewhere different?
Yeah.
They just absolutely gave it to them after that. And we've already spoken about him, but Tommy, he's just on the front foot, and like, your football just becomes so easy. It's just get the ball to him.
Well, just like anytime there's a sniff of a fast play the ball, he will make you pay. Like, the amount of times you might watch a team and you go, oh, there's a fast play the ball. There's no response from the team. Oh, there's another fast, no response from the team. With Manly Seagulls, if there is even an inkling that there is a marker down, there is a fast play the ball, there is a retreating line, Tommy Turbo makes you pay.
Every time.
It's like his ability to pick it is perfect.
God, they're such an entertaining team to watch at the moment, and obviously they've had big wins, but just the way they move the ball from sideline to sideline.
You know what? And like, yes, granted, it's a couple of matches, and this can all go pear-shaped, and we've seen it before where the Manly are killing it, then they go pear-shaped, and then they kill it pear-shaped. But what I like at least about it is that this is a unique style of footy they play. Yep. They're going, we're going to spread it from side to side. With all the systems in place now, where you almost look at the Knights and you go, you know, you're never going to out Penrith. That conservative style of high completion, incredible forwards that are just going to roll you through the middle, and outside backs can all run for 200 plus metres. So, like, can we introduce a different style of play that might be able to combat that we just don't have the roster to do that? And the constantly spreading, like, from side to side to hit three in defenders. Like, it doesn't matter whether you've got Nathan Cleary or, you know, Rome Hughes at three in defender. Their defence isn't so good that you can't pick them apart at times if you have the right players put on them.
Yeah, and in a league that, you know, a copycat league, if you'll call it that, where everyone's trying to be Penrith, the Seagulls they pick a brand of footy that suits the squad that they've got. And you've got to give Anthony Seibold full credit for it.
Yeah, and I think Cherry Evans as well, because he clearly does enjoy just not off the cuff footy, but like, what's the word? Like, entertaining is the wrong word, but footy that asks questions all the time.
Adventurous sort of
footy. So look, it could go pear-shaped. Sometimes it might not work, errors here or there or whatever. But when it does work and everyone's on board, it's outstanding. Got to say, Carl Lawton's job that he did on Fafita, holy.
Mate, Carl Lawton's such a good player.
He's such a goer.
So worth having in your system. He's
a kind of bloke that will always find a contract, and you might sit, a casual fan will say, how's this bloke always getting a contract different if it's at another club or re-signing the Seagulls? But anyone that's worth their salt knows you need blokes like this in your squad.
Yeah.
That just rip and tear, can play multiple positions, and there's just, as soon as they cross that white line, they're going 100 miles an hour.
And you just never know what he's going to do. He doesn't know what he's going to do half the time. He just plays what's in front of him every time, and he just goes at it. And if you say, like, imagine at the size he's at, saying, hey, your job this week, Mark Dave Fafita. He wouldn't even blink. He'd go, yeah, good as gold.
Well, here's Fafita. He had a try assist, 17 runs, 133 metres, 53 post contact, 8 tackle breaks, a line break assist, 16 tackles, 1 miss. And then Carl Lawton, he had 10 runs, 126 metres, so actually averaged more metres per run. 44 post contact, 3 tackle breaks. He had a line break himself, an offload, 36 tackles, and only 2 misses. You know, so like, those are relatively even stat sheets, which is insane. Like,
crazy.
Actually insane. So yeah, I thought Lawton was outstanding. I really thought he was good. Yeah, I think they're finding a really good balance between like their mobile forwards and having too many big boppers on at once. Because I do feel like there was a period where they would almost exclusively have just the big boys on the middle, and they get torn up through the middle. When you just look at this forward pack with guys like, you've got Bullymore, who played 58 minutes. You've got Carl Lawton. You've got Ben Travojevic. You've got Brown. Like, they're all really mobile forwards that can do a lot of work and just clean up work.
I think Nathan Brown's been tremendous, mate. I know that we all, you know, the way that he comes off the back fence and the way that he defends, the way he gets up and whacks, but just the handles that he has during the game. we said it last few weeks. I'd be having Gerbo as an out-and-out front rower, and I think he'd be my 13, Brown. I love the role that he plays.
I would be playing Brown 13 every week, and Jake Trbojevic should be absolutely in my front row because I feel like Jake plays more of a front row role anyway.
I think nowadays, yeah, for sure.
Because he's really on there to tackle his ass off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think they're finding a really good balance in their forward pack. Bullymore, I really like what he does as well. But one guy that I thought had a really good game is Ben Trbojevic. He had a try. Just some of his defence as well. Some of his defensive reads were great.
Which was a bit of a worry at the start of the season.
Yeah.
He was getting found out a little bit. He had that injury. And since he's come back, he's been really good, Ben Trbojevic. He's not that it was a disaster, but he has had a big turnaround.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, when you look at this roster, like you got Tommy Talau, Saab, Trbojevic, Lehigh Hopewadi, Ruben Garrick, Brooks, DC, and then you add in those mobile forwards that we're talking about, it's a friggin' good roster.
When you consider that, that's Paseka's first game back, and I think Matty said it before, but he played 30 minutes. He ran for 156 metres.
That's insane.
That's
what you want him to do.
Exactly right, and that's what he's been doing for the last 18 months. Before that, I spent 4 years watching this guy going, fuck, I wish he realised how big he was and how damaging he can be. I think he's starting to realise, or he has realised it now, Paseka, I should say.
Yep. Yeah, so what, you got 30 minutes there, 12 runs, 156 metres, 65 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 10 tackles, only 1 miss, no errors. That's what you want. And then you almost so Ben Trbojevic 77 minutes. Did he spend some time in the centres yesterday?
Yeah, he must have when Lehigh
went out.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
What about Ben Trbojevic? A bit of underrated part of his game yesterday. He had 4 kick defusals. And he just plucked him out of the air.
Yeah.
It was
He's
great.
a freak of an athlete like his brother, seriously. Yeah, so it's exciting for the Manly Seagulls. It really is.
Have we heard anything about Lockie Croker? Because God, he's been out for a long time now.
I think he's back to training or something like that. But I think there's still it was head knocks that he was
I think
out,
so, or a neck or something. Yeah,
I think he was getting dizzy spells or something like that. Could you just check for that though? Don't want to put out any false information.
I want to wish him all the very best.
I thought he was getting dizzy or something like that.
Well, the fact that they had Humphreys and Chan Kum Tong at the club, and then they went and signed Jake Simpkin. Very interesting.
What do you got there, Manny?
The first thing I found was concussion protocols, but I'll keep looking at a few.
And so you heard neck?
It was neck. It was something with that region. Yeah.
Yeah, it says neck on NRL casualty ward. Yeah. So,
but then says concussion.
But then a report in around 2 months ago was concussion protocols. So they're probably all linked.
Yeah, it was originally spoken as a week or two. Yeah, it's just dragged on and on.
Yeah, wishing him the best. Absolutely. I mean, again, we're talking about. Croker was an important part of their side, one of the most underrated players in their side. So, look, very exciting, very exciting.
Yeah, I've got it. So, associated neck injury from the original concussion.
Okay, so concussion, but then the neck. Okay, sweet. So, yeah, hopefully he's all good. But, yeah, there's not really much to say.
We're going to learn a lot about him this week. As you mentioned, Roo, probably the game of the round, 4v5, Roosters versus Manly on Saturday night. If they win that, I could see the Seagulls finishing in the top 4. They run home, they've got to buy the Raiders, the Warriors, the Tigers, the Dogs and the Sharks.
And also, they're currently 5th.
Yeah, so they'll leap. If they beat the Roosters, they'll leapfrog them. They'll swap positions on the ladder. They'll be in the top 4. Touch wood, they've got the bulk of their players that they want on the field back at the right time. Some sharp minds said it in the preview show at the start of the season that if they get all their players there, the business end, they could ask a few questions. So
and also, the Roosters and the Cowboys in the top 8 all have a game in hand. Everyone else in the top 8 has played 17 games.
Yep.
Whereas the Roosters, Seagulls, and Cowboys have played 18 games. So they're on 25 points compared to the Bulldogs on 24 points. But in reality, they should be on 27 points. So they should be more than a win ahead of 6th. So, yeah, you know what? Fuck, that's insane to me.
Yeah.
That's actually insane that we could see Manly finish in the top 4 because, when they were sitting around the 11th or 12th mark and the standard footy they were playing, I'm going, mate, there's no way these guys make the 8. But when I watched them play over the last couple of weeks, Now, I'll be shocked if they don't make the 8, and also they could make the top 4. And I remember saying, I think at the start of the year, I think that even with everyone fit, they could make the 8, but top 4 might be a little bit of a stretch.
So just having a look at the ladder there, like if Manly do beat the Roosters this week, that'll put them in the top 4. The other thing you need to remember is the Manly Seagulls have that draw during the season. So for and against the Roosters are sufficiently better in, goes out the window. And if the Seagulls with that good run go on a good run, like they just won't allow the Roosters an opportunity to get back in there. This is a huge game.
It's a huge game. It could be season defining for both of them because
it genuinely could be. Yeah,
because we could be in a position where the Roosters don't make the top 4 when I would have locked them into the top 4. Because like the Sharkies are still sitting 3rd.
And there's every chance, like after this weekend, there's every chance the Seagulls don't lose any of those games.
Yeah, absolutely. What a year. If they do that, far out, what a year for the Manly Seagulls. Incredible. So, yeah, what a win on the weekend. Amazing win on the weekend. Now onto the Titans. Talk about hard team to talk about. Jesus Christ. Look, I got to be honest. It's similar in the sense of like with the Warriors where I go, when I watch them, I feel like changes have been made. But the facts of the matter are, this team is 15th on the ladder. When they sacked Holbrook, they were 9th. And I get it. They lost Tino with an ACL injury or whatever, but plenty of clubs have had injuries, key injuries. And so I am struggling to I guess, square away the facts compared to what my feelings are. And my feelings are when I watch them play is I do think Desi is making progress. But then they go out and get absolutely dominated by Manly and they're sitting 15th on the ladder. They're on 18 points. So it'd have to be a disaster for them to, fall further. But what did they end up finishing last year? 14th? So I think that I do think that the Desi Hasler name and magic is shielding them a bit from an incredibly poor year.
Yeah, I think they have got better over the last few weeks. I think from where they were at the start of the year, I think they definitely have improved.
But that's only because they were so bad at the start of the year.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. But I felt like over the last few weeks, at least, I mean, the more I look at these results, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they have been competing against some good sides, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's just because of how shit they were at the start
I'm with you, though. Like, when I watch them, I get swept up in the, they look a lot better. But we've felt this before.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, we have felt this before.
Where were they last year?
14th.
So right now, they are going worse than they were last year, and they sacked their coach when they were coming 9th. And also, remember when they sacked him, he had like a bunch of players that were about to come back into the side. Mm. And so I have to ask the question: are we being a bit hoodwinked by the Desi Hasler magic? Now, or
not a bad point.
Are we witnessing what we witnessed at the Bulldogs last year, where they were terrible, but a lot of tough decisions are being made, and they're going to see the benefits of it next year?
I don't know, if I'm being completely honest with you. I hope we see the better of it. You'll get Tino back next year. Kieran Foran's re-signed for another year, which I think is going to be a huge plus for them. Matt, I just looked through their squad, and once again, maybe I am being hoodwinked, but I just feel like as individuals, so many of them are playing so much better at the moment.
Mate,
but as a team, they're just not getting the results.
I'm with you. Yeah. Like that's what I mean. When you watch them play, it's like the Warriors. I don't think when I watch them play, I don't go, that's the same Warriors of old. Like, but at the end of the day, the wins and losses are the wins and losses. Like, it's hard to not look at the Titans and go, this is a team that I had as the biggest smoky, so outsiders, that could make the top 4. Like, I looked at that young forward pack and said, this is one of the better young forward packs in the competition. Now I look at this team and I go, if they make the top 8 next year, that's a massive win.
Yeah, fair.
I think the second option of what you said, though, I think the new coach this year. There's sort of a year of just kind of troubleshooting, all that sort of stuff. We've seen when they've been at their best, they've absolutely hammered teams. They put 60 on the Warriors a couple of weeks ago. They beat the Broncos. They've had some good wins through the year, but their best and their worst at the moment are quite a long way apart.
Even in the same game.
Yeah.
First 20, they looked like unbelievable.
Very true. I think there's been a few players that have come out this year. Kinney, obviously, Jaden Campbell, they've probably worked out that maybe he's whack him at 6, not at fullback. There's a few questions that they probably answered this year that we didn't know at the start of the year. But yeah, their best and their worst is still too far apart. But I do think with guys like Tino coming back in, like there's enough good players there, and obviously Des has got enough runs on the board to, you'd imagine that improve next year.
Yeah, I hope so. Because it's really disappointing. Like, I felt like they were building towards something. The Titans, even if they lost, like if it was a close loss. Some positives. I thought Bo Fermor was outstanding. He had a try, 11 runs, 109 metres, 37 post contact, 7 tackle breaks, a line break assist, 33 tackles. He's a guy that I reckon look, if they're full strength, maybe not, but I reckon that he'd be perfect for a Queensland spot.
Interesting, Billy on commentary yesterday spoke about him and said this is a guy that was banging on the door this year of maybe getting a call up. So,
as I look at that that KP jersey at 17, and I go, and I know they're two different game plans, but I go, imagine if we had Bo Fermor to take some weight off some of our forwards when they were fatiguing, coming on, going hard.
I wish Timmy was here for this. The biggest Bo Fermor fan in the world.
Well, he has been calling for him for a while. In saying that, Timmy is also very pro outside back on the bench.
Yes, yeah.
So we would have seen him fighting with himself. Oh, shit. But yeah, I thought he was outstanding. It's really. So are we all? Campbell is their 6 going forward? Like, are we that far along, or we still need to see a little bit more?
I think so.
Yeah, I think just what we've seen in some of those games where they have put on good. Like he had a couple of runs in the team of the week. When he's on, he's on.
I don't think so. I think Brimson should be their 6. And put
With
Campbell
Kenny at 1?
Kenny at 1 and Campbell on the bench. I think that's the best way to go if they're full strength.
It's tough.
Still, Campbell and Brimson too good a player to have.
It's too good to be on the bench, no doubt. But if I had to pick one.
Anyway, what about some other positives, boys? Any other positives that we saw from this game?
Chrissy Randall, as always, tough game, 100-odd run metres. When you get through 38 tackles in this game. It's hard to sort of take too much away from this. So they look so good in the first 20, and then it just was a training run for Manly after that.
Oh, quickly, before we move on from the Seagulls, Brooksy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was outstanding.
Yep.
Brooksy was easily his best game since the start of the year. Been a bit quiet.
Yep.
I mean, you could even argue, like, it was his, well, not argue, it's proof. His was the 2 plays that got them back into the game, Brooksy. It was a try on Fafita, dummy, straight through. And then it was a try assist on the other side of the field. He was swinging both sides. But yeah, back to the Titans. Geez, I'm a fan of Philip Sammy. 2 line breaks, 7 tackle breaks, 170 metres, 66 post contact, a line break assist, 18 tackles, 3 misses, only 1 error. Mate, I rate Philip Sammy so highly, and he's a similar situation with like AJ Brimson in that if he was another club, like genuinely, he'd be such a bigger name. And if there's another club that needs an outside back, he'd be probably the first bloke I'll be knocking the door on because he's not going to break the bank. But when you actually have seen him, when you watch the Titans and you see his stats, like he's nearly as good as put it this way, his stats are as good as a lot of other outside backs in his position. He's
one of those guys that I think if the Queensland Maroons would have had mass injuries, he would have come in. I think a lot of people would have sat up straight watching Phil Sami.
Well, he probably, if Colbo had not been available for Game 3, he probably would have got a call.
Wasn't far off. Yeah.
Oh, actually, no, Sammy's been injured. But if he wasn't injured, he probably would have got a call up.
But I think he's a lot closer in that line than what people expect.
Absolutely, I agree. And he reminds me a bit of Rapana, where he just everything is like a bit awkward, and he's toing and froing and tackle, like just rolling in and out of tackles, but he gets the job done.
Yeah.
Gets the job done. Who else? Just trying to look. Aaron Clark in the front row. I didn't mind it. Got through a bunch of work. I still think he's a 13 though.
I agree. Obviously Tino's been a huge loss this year, but I reckon the other one that really compounded it was Jermaine Jolliffe.
Oh, massive.
Another he's a good player, Jolliffe, and he was great for the 4 or 5 weeks after Tino went down that he got injured, and it sort of just left them having to just pick a couple of tough guys like Aaron Clark and Chris Randall and just saying, hey, we need you to play above your weight here.
I will say Aaron Clark, he does suit he's almost like a Ruben Cotter size-ish.
Yep.
Probably a little bit bigger than Ruben Cotter. I'm not sure about height, but thickness-wise. But in the modern era, geez, you can't go wrong with Aaron Clark suits the modern fast footwork, quick across the ground, good laterally.
He's got a bit of cheese about him.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, with the Titans, it's very hard to know where they're at. But unfortunately, Doesn't matter how you splice it. If you take away what can be next year and you just look at this year, geez, it's been disappointing.
I'll tell you the one that I've been, and maybe I just had my expectations too high for him, but leaving Brisbane last year, Paliasea, I thought he was gonna be such a good signing for the Titans, and he just, like, when you consider that Tino's out, Jermaine Jolliffe's out, like, if those guys were fit and available, I'm not sure if he'd still be in the side.
Yeah, I wonder whether he's been struggling with injury.
There must be something going on, like.
He definitely hasn't hit the ground running, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You just don't, sometimes, they're not injured enough to not play, but at the same time, the injury is just stopping them from it's almost like a mental barrier to get past. But because he was in that grand final last year, he was enormous. Was unbelievable. And he was so important to their run home. And I spoke about it all the time, how big of a loss. And I still think the Broncos could use him at the moment. But yeah, I'm a bit surprised there. Maybe I wonder whether he was signed before Desi Hasler come. I'm not sure. Maybe they're not clicking.
Yeah.
Injury. Isaac Liu, did he get injured?
No, they just didn't put. He's been doing this most weeks with him. He just doesn't put him on until the last, which personally I don't have a huge drama with, but I reckon you could probably pick someone else there.
Yeah, that's why I've always been surprised at how often they've played Isaac Liu at 13. When I think Aaron Clark or Randall have made for the modern 13, Randall's kind of put his hand up and become that, but Randall's a perfect 14. So I reckon Aaron Clark, you put him at 13, you let him build a game plan there, you let him build combinations, because Randall, can you check how often Randall's been playing 13 the last few weeks?
Yep, I'll say Palisea did sign before Des.
He did sign before Des.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I wonder whether that's just something that's, maybe, Des, sometimes as a coach when they come in, if they didn't sign that player and that player's on an okay wicket, they almost hold it against the player when it's not the player's fault.
His last 4 games has been lock.
He's been locked. Last 4, but before that?
Before that was all hooker with 2 5/8s.
So with that, I hope Desi sticks with it. Choose one and stick with it. Because 13 is such a tough position. If you keep chopping and changing, with the combinations you got to build, it's not going to help anyone.
Just having a look at Isaac Liu's minutes, he moved to the bench 10 weeks ago, hasn't played above 30. He played 36 minutes against the Warriors where they won by 60. Outside of that, he's just not playing minutes. I reckon you'd be better off going with someone else there. Maybe with all their injuries that they don't have much more to choose from, but.
Alrighty, don't forget tonight, 6 p.m. Monday, bloke hoodies, green and gold, jackets, shirts, hats, dropping at 6 p.m. tonight. Limited supply, guys. Let's get into it. Cowboys defeat the Doggies 20-18. What a game. What a game. Got to say, we'll get to the Cowboys, but the Cowboys winning this is what I expected the Cowboys this year because I look at their roster, how good it was. Mate, the Bulldogs, I still, for the life of me, can't believe how impressed I am with their turnaround in defence. Their defence, the amount of times that game should have been put away from the Cowboys and the Bulldogs just kept turning away. It is honestly, if you ever needed an example of how important, you can have a certain roster that doesn't buy into what a coach wants to do and then a certain roster that does want to buy in, the night and day difference is astonishing.
It's unbelievable. It really is. It sounds so simple. Everyone buy in defence and just show up for each other. But how fucking hard is it to do?
Yeah.
Week in, week out. And, you said it, I reckon, 8 weeks ago. And I agree with you when you said it, okay, are the Bulldogs just going to have that game where it all just falls in on itself and they get blown out in a game? And I thought, yeah, it's coming. It's going to come. I'm not sure if it is.
Oh, I think we're past that point.
Yeah, I think this is who they are. They might not win every single game, but they're not getting blown out at all. You can remember as well, they came into this game without Max King. They don't have any front row forwards as it is. They forced Josh
Curran is playing front row right now. And he's killing it.
He played 75 minutes or something outrageous in the front row.
It is what they're doing at the Bulldogs. Once they get a couple more people into that roster, they'll be unstoppable.
You just, and I know their pack's done incredibly well this year, but if they can just get that other front row forward, I don't know who it is or who the right guy is, but
I wonder whether they put Satilli in the front row when he gets there.
Well, mate, based on what they've done with what they've done with Sam Hughes and some of these other guys, what they could do with him could be massive.
Look, if he can stay on the field injury-free, like, he's going to be huge for them for signing-wise.
And I'd say, like, with him, you don't realise how big he is unless you're around. He is enormous.
Yeah. Like, I remember a few years ago, I ran into a few of the Roosters boys, and I was like, oh, yeah, who's going all right in the preseason? And we're talking about a preseason full of, like the best of the best. And they're like, this Satili Tupanoa is an absolute dog. Like, we're talking a freak of nature. And this is, as I said, this is the Roosters we're talking about. So, like, I don't think we've seen anywhere close to his potential yet. And once he does hit his potential, and the crazy thing is I've got confidence that the Bulldogs can do that. Look at the level Curran has gone to. Like, Josh Curran has been, just purely form-wise, he's been one of the best forwards in the competition this year. Like, what do you reckon, top 15 forwards in the competition?
Oh, yeah, well and truly,
like, form-wise?
Yep.
Which is, like, that's incredible. Like, with the wage that he'd be on right now, with the club that he's been at, that he'd have to turn everything around, being played out of position, and he's a top 15 form forward at the moment. Like, that's amazing.
And, mate, I agree with you. Like, he's been incredible. Max King's been great. But for me, what gives me confidence about Canterbury bringing someone else in and doing it with them, when they go off the field, Canterbury don't lose that much.
No.
They bring on these guys that I constantly look at and go, I'm not sure if you're a first grader, and they just do a job.
Yeah.
As you said before, everyone buying into something,
Yep.
they are just all going in the same direction.
Yeah. And it's guys like Critter that just are leading from the front. Like, truly, his ability to get everyone on board and just get behind him, it's astonishing. But even like guys like Bailey Haywood, just goers, Curtis Moran,
I love Moran.
You know, like, all these boys. And they're missing, you know, as you said, like, they're missing front rowers as it is. And then they miss Max King, who has been such a key part of their rotation. So, mate, they lost the game, but, like, the fact that they're sitting right now, they're sitting, what, 6?
Yep.
Sitting 6 right now. What's their run home like? I think it's a pretty tough run home. But I've actually got confidence in them that they'll hang in the 8.
So their run home is Broncos up in Brisbane, Canberra, Dragons, Dolphins, Warriors, Seagulls, Cowboys again.
So if let's say they not even beat Broncos, let's say they lose that match, most of those other games are definitely winnable for this dog side. Absolutely.
Definitely. And, mate, like, even that Broncos game, the way that they're playing, they could frustrate Brisbane.
Absolutely they could. Like, if there's one style of play that could totally just put Broncos off their game, it's the grittiness of Bulldogs.
Pour cold water on everything
Yep.
Brisbane do.
And, like, again, what's insane is if they don't make the 8 this year, that's going to be disappointing. Like, think about how far we've come and the standard that they've set, that the NRL, like, fan base, if they don't make the 8, go, oh, that's a missed opportunity. Mate, if you said to me at the start of the year they're going to make the 8, I'll say stop with the nonsense. Like, I get it. You want to get excited. It's a new season, 2024, and you got these new signings. Give me a break, guys. Like, if you finish 10th to 12th, that's a massive win. They've come so far. If they don't make the 8, it's disappointing.
I almost became the catch cry of the podcast, but my God, it's aged well. Stay patient, Doggies fans.
Hey, there you go. That's one for me. Stay patient.
Yeah.
Stay patient.
I don't know about you guys, but, man, when Stephen Crichton was down injured for a few minutes yesterday, I held my breath.
Oh,
I thought this could be one of the biggest moments of the season.
Very slow to get up. It took a long time. I was like, this doesn't look right at all. But
But the way his arm flopped as
Yeah.
well, oh, fuck, that looked bad.
yep.
So, yeah, look, what a performance by the Bulldogs. They just hung in there. In regards to performances, outside of, geez, I love Kiraz. I know he had that error early on that was just a poor error, but, geez, I love the way he goes about his business. Such a fan favourite.
Such a goer, eh?
Yeah, so good. In regards to some other boys, Sexton for me. He had he had two try assists from his boot. His short kicking game. So the year when he signed to the Bulldogs, he actually had the most repeat sets of any 7 in the competition.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, you look at on the weekend, actually, I'll get the stat up. I'm pretty sure they had decent amount of repeat sets, and they were all off. So they had four dropouts, and they were all off Sexton's boot. Plus, also, he had tries off his boot as well.
I was big on not thinking there would be that much difference between him and Drew a couple of weeks ago, but, mate, that's been the huge difference for me, just the kicking game.
an out half.
Yeah.
You know, like I know Hutchinson come through as a half, but he'd spent so many years away from it.
Yeah.
Whereas Sexton, his kicking game's outstanding, especially his short kicking game, and even just some of the delicate stuff of getting him around the park. And like I understand that they've got some guns coming through, but at the end of the day, these guns haven't played first grade yet. It can't hurt to have a guy like Sexton, who is still only 22, 23 years old. He could develop, like we always talk about staying patient with number sevens. At the moment, Sexton has helped lead this team, at the moment, top 6, maybe top 5 by the end of the year. He's the 7.
Yep.
There are sevens that are, a lot of people say are better on paper with better rosters that are currently outside the 8 than Sexton.
And you know what? Toby Sexton doesn't, in order to hold on to this spot, he doesn't have to be the greatest halfback in the world. He just needs to be the best halfback for Matt Burton.
Yeah, just put
Which
him
at the
in
moment
position.
is exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. He's just doing his job. And again, he's going to get better. He's super young, 22. Can you get how old Sexton is, please? I think he's like 22, 23. Other good performances
23.
from... Sorry?
23.
23. So he has got ages in halfback years to get better. Ages.
Well, he's got like half a decade until we always say they're at their best.
Yeah. Who else played well for you in the Doggies?
I'm not sure if the stats reflected and whatnot, and I mean, I thought he was going to go off on 3 occasions, to be fair, but geez, I thought Viliami Kikau was damaging with the ball in hand.
When they get him in good position, you can just tell the defence is going, fuck, not again.
Not again, yeah.
So did he end up going off with an injury? No, he played
He
80.
played the entire thing. I swear he was
went
down
down
on
for-
3 or
yeah.
4
I
occasions.
feel like every time they cut to him, just about,
Yeah.
he was down.
Every
That's how
run.
he was doing. Yeah.
Yeah, see, he's just so damaging. And I what's crazy with him is I feel like they've still got more they can get out of him.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
But yeah, hopefully he doesn't stay, because he does seem to stay down a lot, doesn't he? So I
Well,
wonder
mate,
whether
there was one that he got. There was one hit that he was involved in yesterday. I thought he was knocked out cold. He was just holding his knee.
Yeah, it was his knee. Like I think it was a knee clash. So hopefully he's not carrying any niggly injuries. Bailey Hayward for me, he's a goer, eh?
He was what I was going to say. Like you were speaking about how good their defence has been this year, and obviously the system that they're getting in place there. I think he seems like a really good reflection of that small guy. 32 tackles, 1 missed when he came on.
So good.
He's been so impressive. He's obviously always been really exciting with the ball in hand, but to be that solid in defence as well.
And he was a half coming through, I'm pretty sure, as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, I wouldn't be surprised if he still does end up being a half one day. His footy IQ is just so, like, he's obviously tough as nails and can play in all these spots, but yeah, it'd be very interesting to see, like, if a spot opened up at halfback for him for a few weeks, I reckon he'd make an excellent fist of it.
I mean, imagine how much tougher he's going to be defensively. The fact that he's had to defend in the middle.
Yeah.
It's going to be a breeze out the edge for him, making
Yeah,
contact with the
100%.
big fellas.
Yep.
Yeah, so really, really good performance. I thought Matty Burton had a couple of good incisive runs. Obviously, he had a try assist, 142 metres, 28 post-contact, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 20 tackles, only 2 misses, and he had 0 errors and 424 kick metres.
couple of sexy bombs. So he put 4 bombs up that were a real handful. Such a weapon.
Yeah. So look, really exciting. Hopefully Stephen Crichton hasn't got any long-term injury from that. Like hopefully it's not a niggling injury that's going to require surgery in the off-season. But look, really good. And like it's not an easy road trip up north. It really isn't.
No.
It's not an easy road trip. But they went up there, ripped and teared. Onto the Cowboys. Look, to be honest, the only thing holding the Cowboys back is their errors. Holy shit. If they had kept the ball, so they had 14 errors. 14 errors compared to the Doggies' 8. But the difference between the Cowboys now and the Cowboys, 6-7 weeks ago, is this Cowboys side currently trotting out is they are defending their asses off. They're not allowing, just a missed tackle here, it's a try. Don't worry, we'll score a try later. Like they're holding on in defence much longer than they do in the past. Look, things are looking good for the Cowboys.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the big talking point, mate. Defensively, they've been fantastic. In attack, they are so slick, but my God, they are frustrating at the same time. Some of the options that they come up with in attack just absolutely boggle the mind at times. And I don't know if it's just because I know they've got such a high ceiling in attack that they frustrate me more than others. But like the day that they put it all together, they could blow anyone out.
Well, I think we've watched moments when they do, like 10, 15-minute periods where they just go, and you go, holy shit, this is a premiership threat side. But as I said, I just want to give them credit. Like 20-18 win against a dog side that, like, you have to remember, the Cowboys at this stage, I think they were outside the 8. Or at the very least, they're currently sitting 8th. They've just played essentially an informed Bulldogs that at that stage was sitting 5th, I think. Like, if you take away the Bulldogs' name and you just said, like, for example, let's say they beat the Roosters, who are sitting in 4th at the moment, close to 5th, obviously. We'd all be sitting there going, what a bloody win. And so I think the Cowboys deserve massive credit. Like, they've just beat a Bulldogs side. That's a bloody hard side to beat. And a Bulldogs side that they didn't go up there to just, if we can get close to win. They went up there to fucking give it a red-hot crack. Yeah, I think that the Cowboys, at the moment, you've got the Manly Seagulls, who are a dark horse in the sense that a lot of people aren't really realising how good they can be. I think we all know how good the Cowboys can be, but when you look at the Cowboys and where they're sitting right now is 8th on the table, and they're on 24 points. They've played 18 games. So right now they're actually on equal points to the Roosters. Oh, well, no, sorry, the Roosters got 18 points. But right now, actually, they would be ahead of the Bulldogs. So the Bulldogs and Dolphins are on 17 points. Sorry, 24 points, but they played 27. They're on 24 points. They played 17 games. The Cowboys are on 24 points, but they played 18 games. So essentially, they actually are ahead of the Bulldogs and the Dolphins right now. So as it sits, the Cowboys are in the top 6. Can you let us know what the run home is?
I think it's a pretty tough run home, Cal.
So like where we've been hypercritical of the Broncos, and rightly so. The Broncos they're in this desperate position where they need to win all these matches to make the finals. The Cowboys are in a position where if they go on a run, they could be in the top 4. And so like that deserves a wrap.
It's tough, Jason. It's Sharks, Tigers, Bronx, Raiders, Bye, Storm, Dogs.
Not too bad.
A lot of those are at home too. In fact, I think they might only leave Queensland once on the run home, or there's some stat like that or something.
Twice. Yeah.
So basically, if they have a good run home, they could finish in the top 4.
So, I mean, like almost 4-point games there. They play the Broncos.
Yep.
That'll be an important game. Whoever wins that probably
Sharkies
impacts
too.
The other team. Yeah,
Sharkies.
The Bulldogs as well. So
Doggies again.
There's
Yep.
a couple there that are almost going to feel a little bit like finals for them. So, yeah.
Like I think it's so impressive because 10 weeks ago, I'm starting to go, is Todd Payten under pressure? Like genuinely, you don't want to talk about it too much because you don't want to be negative. Already calling for coaches to go, and I was never at that point where I thought he should go. It was just more along the lines of, if they miss the finals heading into next season, I think there will be pressure on him. Now all of a sudden, we could get to the end of the year where we go, Todd Payten's gone. Obviously, they missed the finals last year, but he's gone top 4 first year. Missed the finals. He may go top 4. He most likely will go top 8. It's not bad for a bloody in the first 3 years of his career. Granted, I get it. The roster is a top 4 roster, but that's where they could finish.
I mean, like a lot of those guys have, to their credit, played their best footy underneath him though. Like, when you look at what he's done with Ruben Cotter over the last few years, Tommy did, and he arrived there as an unwanted halfback essentially. Like, Todd's got a lot out of these guys.
And also the roster that he inherited with some big, for example, Tamalolo, 10-year deal.
Yep.
So as I said, I think it's been a great turnaround for the Cowboys, and they've flown under the radar, and just there was a period there where they got 5 wins on the trot, even though the wins when you watch them play was like, fuck, this is nowhere near as good as they can be. So, I think they deserve credit for that. I think that they've gone a lot better. Like, at the end of the day, they've done what you need to do, and that's win matches. It's been ugly at times, but they've done it. In regards to individual performances, Jackson Purdue. Is it Purdue or Purdue? Anyway.
Purdue, isn't it?
Purdue. The fact that he is not even a centre, but he's playing this well in the centres, is so exciting for Cowboys fans. Because who knows, maybe he's the 7. I know they've got Clifford in reserve grade, but maybe he's the 7 next year and Dearden's the 6. Or he's 6 and Dearden's 7. They've got plenty of options there now.
I mean, he's a halfback who's playing centre for the North Queensland Cowboys and just moved Val Holmes to the wing.
Yeah. You know what? Right now, with Val Holmes and where he's at with his form, I think he needs to be on the wing just to simplify his game.
Yeah.
Because even on the weekend he had a pretty poor error. Val did. But maybe being on the wing is just what he needs to simplify everything and just get back to running the ball hard and scoring tries.
I'll tell you what, the other centre, he's still got a lot of question marks around defence, but Valia, he is hard to handle. Feels like he's starting to feel confident in first grade.
He run over the top of Key Cow or someone like that. He went straight over the top of someone.
He's a big boy.
Mate,
Holy.
Yeah.
He's quick too.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that if they just keep focused and they fully buy into the system, the Cowboy system, the training and, eating right and mentally, being on each day, he's almost at a fork in the road where he'll become a destructive centre, or he could be the guy that's like has a few good games here or there, but then ends up in reserve grade, gets only called in with the injuries. But when he's on, geez, the potential is there. You can see it.
And Todd Payton has backed him in 100%. So,
Helam Lukey, outstanding, absolutely outstanding. He's another guy that he struggled with injuries, and it's been really unfortunate. But Queenslander. Could be on the fringes next year, potentially. Did he make a squad over the last couple of years, or maybe an extended squad came into camp?
He was in the squad this year, wasn't he?
Yeah, I thought he was in there
He was in the
He made it, okay,
game
made
one
squad
or
this-
game two.
Yeah.
Okay, really?
I'm pretty confident.
I seem to remember.
But he's a guy that there's been a lot of discussion around the edges for Queensland, like Nanai defensively is that good? Feeder, obviously, all that chat. Kate Will, an aging player. Kafusi looks like he's seen more as a middle. Maybe Lukey's the next man up.
Oh, mate, I've said it on a number of occasions. Before all of his injuries, I had him in front of a few years ago. So, mate, his potential is huge, Lukey.
Mate, his motor for how big he is crazy. And also his footwork. Yeah. One of his tries where most other big back rowers like him would immediately be looking for a pass. He was just like, nah, I know that my footwork's good enough to score this try.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great. So, 2 tries, 117 metres, 40 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, a line break, 1 offload, 30 tackles, only 1 miss, no errors.
Lukey was in the Game 2 squad.
Game 2 squad. What number, like 20 or something like that?
19.
19. Interesting. So he's there or thereabouts. Clearly got an eye on him. Who else stood out for you guys? Oh, well, we've already spoken about it a bit, but Tom Dearden. Holy.
Yeah.
His Game 3 performance into this, there's no way they win that game without him. There's no way.
No, he just put the team on his back, and I didn't listen to didn't get a chance to listen to the review of Origin, but my God, boys, he was enormous in that game. In the first half, it was just all New South Wales, and he was what just kept Queensland. He just kept showing up. It was like there was 2 of him on the field in defence.
His first tackle on Martin sent such a strong message, jams him, makes him drop the ball, and it was a message for the rest of the night. It said, if you're going to come here, you're getting chopped every single time, and they really didn't have that much luck on Dearden for the rest of the night. I mean, there wasn't many tries scored, but yeah, he was incredible.
But the way New South Wales were attacking, there should have been plenty of tries scored, and they created plenty of opportunities. He just showed up every single time.
Yeah. We haven't really spoken about it, but yeah, the defence from Queensland in that first half was insane. Who else? He had 2 try assists. He had 100 metres from 12 runs, 2 tackle breaks, a line break assist, 21 tackles, only 1 miss. Look, Nanai, I know he had 2 errors, but 12 runs, 100 metres, 46 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 35 tackles, 6 misses, 3 offloads. So defensively, still some concerns, and we spoke about it last week where, there was a lot of discussion around like Fafita or Nanai and, should a Fafita been selected? At the end of the day, unfortunately for Queensland, the edge positions where we always were discussing questions around Nanai's defence, that's what broke that's the straw that broke the camel's back, where Nanai didn't get up, didn't keep his feet moving, and he got gassed. So it's just one part of his game he definitely needs to work on before next year. And that's the same with Fafita. You go back and you look at Manly Seagulls versus Titans, where did the game get broken open? It was Brooks going straight through Fafita. But what I like about both Nanai and Fafita, but Nanai in this game, is that at least he had 12 runs. At least he was engaged in the game. Yeah,
it wasn't that long ago he was having, I think there was a period last year where he might have had 8 or 9 runs in a month.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm really confident about his future is at least he's engaged with the game. Again, another guy similar to Reece Walsh, we're talking about a 22-year-old guy. Actually, he might be younger than that. He might be 21. I think because they've shown how good they can be, everyone forgets how young these guys are. This guy has so long to develop his game, and that if there are rough around the edges, at least the one tick is he's ripping in attack and defence to a degree.
Reece Robson, mate, obviously backed up from that Origin game and a huge Origin series. Like, Jake Granville was the 18th man. Like, I imagine he said to Todd, "No, I'm sweet. I'll go the distance," which is just crazy. He made 39 tackles, he only missed one. Ruben Cotter made 43, only missed one. And missed 0, sorry.
Yeah, 61
Huge
minutes
nudge.
backing up as well.
And that's what's exciting for this team is like you got Reece Robson and Cotter, who are dogs in the Origin arena. Like both blokes that play really well in the Origin, and you got them both.
Yeah.
Usually teams just have one of those two. You got both of them in your
two.
side.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Look, great win. Really, really good win for the Cowboys, and they can build from here. The top 4 is not too far away. They just got to keep turning up like this, and who knows? Who knows? Anything else on the Cowboys?
No.
Alrighty, time for some tips. Face the Music, brought to you by our friends Sportsbet. Give us a follow on the feed, guys. Massive thank you, as always, to Sportsbet for partnering with the show.
Out of the Origin series, back to 8 games in round 21. Doubleheader on the Friday, kicking off with my boys, the Tigers, $4.10 against the Warriors, $1.24, 13.5 the line over in New Zealand.
I'm going to go Warriors-Tigers.
Yeah, Warriors-Tigers for me.
Warriors-Tigers.
Yep, I think you're right. Warriors-Tigers for me as well. Or maybe I'll just put my nuts on the line. I'll go Tigers. Get over there, get a
I was going to
fan.
say, you fucking coward, man.
Yeah, that's
Jeez,
and
$4.10 is good value.
That's fair feedback. That's a good price, you're right. All right, then we've got the Eels host the Storm. Eels 5.30, the Storm $1.16, 15.5 the line in this one out at Combank.
15.5. And Moses, he's injured. He's out for the year.
Junior's out too.
15.5. Holy shit. Storm Eels.
Storm.
Storm.
Storm. They just beat the Chooks by 14, was it? I think they can go even bigger against Parramatta. Then we got Super Saturday. Broncos $1.47 against the Dogs, $2.67.
Cracking clash.
That's not a bad price to the Dogs. 6.5 points is the line.
Broncos.
Broncos, Bulldogs.
Broncos.
Broncos Dogs for me. I think North Queensland host the Sharks, $1.79. The Cowboys, Sharks $2.08. 1.5 points is the line.
What a game. Rematch of that prelim. But also, this could have a huge defining factor on who finishes in the top 4.
Will Kennedy's out of this one, isn't he?
Yeah, he's suspended.
Yep.
I'm going to go Cowboys.
Yep.
Yeah, Cowboys.
Sharks.
Cowboys for me. We've said it, game of the round. Roosters $1.47. Manly $2.69. 6.5 is the line.
269. Roosters bounce back.
Roosters, Manly.
Roosters.
Manly head to head for me. Dragons $3.90 host the Panthers $1.26. 10.5 is the line.
Panthers.
Panthers, Dragons.
Panthers Dragons for me as well. Dolphins $1.48 host the Titans $2.66. 5.5 is the line. Dolphins at home.
Dolphins.
I'm going to go Titans for an upset.
Ooh.
Dolphins for me.
Dolphins for me as well. And then we got the Raiders $1.65 host the Rabbitohs $2.25. 3.5 points to the line in the Jack Whiten Cup.
Oh, this is a tough one.
6:15 Sunday in Canberra. That will be cold.
Yeah. Fuck. Raiders, Rabbits.
What's the line, Ham?
3.5.
Oh, actually, 3.5. Raiders.
I'm going to take the Bunnies in that one.
Ooh.
Yeah, South.
Raiders for me as well, I reckon. And that's it, round 21.
There you go. Face the Music brought to you by Sportsbet. Massive thank you to Sportsbet. Don't forget, guys, if you want to support the show, Monday 6 p.m, if you listen to hours and hours of the content, please go to go to bloke.shop, grab a hoodie, a jacket, or a hat. It really, really does support the show and helps us growing and do all the content that you enjoy. It keeps the lights on. As usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.